Going on, everybody? Welcome to Distilling 101, Distillers Chat, with our special guest tonight, Dan Gray, Farm to
Hola.
Bottle Festival creator, organizer extraordinaire.
All of that.
So, tell everybody what's going. Go ahead and start us out. I'm going to go ahead and share the link, and while I'm doing that, you can kind of talk about Farm to Bottle, how it got started, the you know what the message you're trying to get out, and who you're trying to get in there, and what changes we've made. Kind of as the years go by to try to
Right.
get more and more interest. So take it away while I try to spread the word here.
All right. So, of course, we're going to be talking about Farm to Bottle Fest 2025 this year. But, to give everybody that hasn't been there a little background, honestly, this the whole event kind of started off to be something that it's not right now. but and you know what? There's one person to thank for that kind of changed the course of what this little festival and event was, and that would be John Bentz. So
Cool.
if any of you guys know John Bentz, the master distiller, and he only did it by accident. I don't know that he was intending on trying to create a moonshine type festival in Ohio, but ultimately that's what he did because I was just going to have a beer, wine, and bourbon festival.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my plan. As a matter of fact, the original name I mean, we was going to have some moonshine, some commercialized stuff, but really never had looked into doing anything beyond just the commercialized type moonshine and do tastings.
Right.
Tastings has always been part of what I was going to do, regardless of what the event was called. But so the first year when I came up with the idea, I first called it the Beer, Wine, Bourbon, and Shine Festival, and that was kind of my first name. And then tossed a bunch of ideas around, and the fairgrounds was like, well, how can we tie it into something farming? Since it's going to be here at the fairgrounds, we do a lot of
Right.
farming stuff. I said, well, give me a little bit of time, and I was like, all right, well, how's farm to bottle sound? And they was like, that sounds great, sounds terrific. Well, now what's it all about? And I said, well, it'd be kind of a tasting thing with beer and wine and moonshine and whatever else, and we can. Just go from there, see what happens. I said, I'll run with farm to bottle and we'll kind of put it together as we go. I've done several different events over the year. Most of them are usually music related, and I've never really done one that's something like more focused on a particular type of products or whatever. It's always been 80s or 90s music for the most part. So that part of it was new for me. Anyway, so I sent a friend of mine. I was like, look, I'm calling this festival Farm to Bottle Festival. And I said, it's going to have something to do with, liquor and wine and beer and whatever else, and probably some moonshine. And I said, what can you do? I sent her a picture of a jar, some corn, a still, and some berries and some different stuff like that. And I said, make me a logo. So I was expecting to have a logo like, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Shit, hour later, man, she sent me this.
Awesome.
So I was like, well, damn, that actually looks like a festival logo or something. I said, it looks like a moonshine festival. So I took that, put about $50 into some Facebook advertising. I wasn't really good at that because I'd never done it before. Well, it went all across the United States. I didn't select certain areas for it to go to, and
Right.
I didn't get into my demographics and stuff, and didn't understand how to do any of that. I just put $50 in there, basically put moonshine, bourbon, beer, wine, tasting festival, concert, a few little keywords and whatever, and let it go. And one of the first people that reached out to me was John Bentz from down there in his part of southeastern Ohio, Middleport, I think it is.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, would you like to have somebody from the Moonshiners show? Well, I was like, well, yeah, or no, the Master Distiller show. I said, well, what's that? And he's like, well, it's part of the Moonshiners and whatever. And I hadn't watched a Moonshiners show episode in probably 10 years.
Right.
I watched a lot the first couple of seasons. I've always done band booking and some personality booking and stuff. I actually did some booking for Josh and Bill Canny when in their first couple of seasons, booked them in a couple of places to do some meet and greets.
Cool.
But I hadn't done anything. So I called Bill Canny because I knew Bill. I called him. He's like, I'm done with moonshine. I don't want nothing to do with it. I wish you the best with your festival. I don't know what to tell you. And that was the end of it. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So then I started hitting up Vince, and Vince was like, well, I could probably get a couple more people. So, then I think Sean Rigsby was the second one. And I
Right.
don't I don't remember exactly how they fell in line, but we ended up getting Judd that year, and Matt and Tim Johnson,
I think
and
that's the point when I heard about when Rigsby and I think Ian or Big Easy and Phil Billy and a bunch of them got wind of it and started, promoting it and stuff. That's kind of the point when I heard about it. So I
and I'll
hadn't
take
heard.
yeah, exactly. It kind of got around to those guys, and by the time before I know it, Doug Taylor was another one. Before I knew it,
Yep.
I was like, hell, I got 7 of these moonshiner guys coming. So I was like, well, we'll shift the focus towards moonshine stuff. And honestly, the first couple of years, it's been heavily shifted towards moonshine, and it's not going to go away from that. But over the last few years, we've also tried to find things that'll bring other people because not everybody's a moonshiner, and moonshine in Ohio doesn't carry the same weight as it does maybe in even Kentucky, Tennessee, or West Virginia. It's
Right.
getting there, and there's a lot of people getting into it. But just a moonshine festival alone probably wasn't gonna work out. So that's when we came up with Farm to Bottle, and it's kind of all inclusive for any kind of alcohol. All of it comes from the ground at some point, and either a tree or a bush or a plant or whatever. And it ends up in the bottle and we drink it. So, Farm to Bottle turned out to be a great name. So the first couple of years we ran with that. Still going to run with that. The tastings we've done really well this year. We all got together late in the fall last year, not too long after the festival. He's like, what can we do better? What can we change? What's going to make this festival better? And we all did come to the mutual agreement that we've done really well with the bottle part, but we haven't done
Right.
real great with the farm part. So, that's our goal this year, is to add some farm related stuff into
Right.
it. Even as much as, I mean, the first year I tried to do all of that, but it's like the first year until we had a Thursday, Friday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event the first year. Nobody other than Dan and stuff that was in my head, anybody really knew anything until the Thursday night before the event. So it was a clusterfuck to an extent. But by
Growing
Saturday,
pains, man.
huh?
Just growing pains.
Yeah. So it was a first year event. I've done plenty of music events. We had the music. I just got the music going and let it go. And we started working on the inside. And by Saturday, we had it functioning fairly well. We had a tasting going on. We had, people enjoying themselves, having a good time. But the first day and a half was kind of misery for me. It's like my name turned from Dan to Hey Dan, because it's like, hey Dan, hey Dan, hey Dan. Everybody's trying to get your attention. It's like, the problem was nobody else knew what was going on but me.
Right. Right.
So the second year got into it a little bit better, got a few more people on. And last year, everything went smoother last year, but we still had our hiccups and bumps and whatever. But the main thing that I'd wanted to do both years and didn't do very good at was the educational
Right.
classes and
Right.
stuff like that. So, the music kind of consumed the entire event. So it wasn't a music festival, and it's not a music festival. So, we've kind of decided to, we're not doing away with the music, but we cut the music way down to leave room for other stuff.
Right.
Because last year I wanted to have a hillbilly octathlon. Well, I had to squeeze it up to 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, a bunch of drunk people that was going to be in it, they all got hammered on Friday night and didn't feel like getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning and running through goofy obstacle courses and stuff
Right. Or
at
or
10
doing the
o'clock in the morning.
education, like some
Yeah.
people are supposed to do. Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do that. And the same thing with the cornhole tournament, everything. Everything had to be squeezed in before noon because I had bands starting at noon and going till
Right.
almost midnight.
Right.
So, this year we've steered away from that. We got 2 bands each night. They'll start at 8, run up until about 11, 11:30. plenty of music and whatever, but it gives us a whole open field of time to do some different events. So there'll be some kids events, there'll be some educational stuff, and that can range anywhere from brewing, distilling techniques and tips and whatever to types of grain that you use to some lost ways stuff like canning and fermentation and holistic medicines and anything like that. Anything that could come from the ground and end up in a bottle or jar that people would use or consume. That
You
we're
talked
going to
to
try and go full circle and encompass everything that we can
okay.
in farm to bottle and make it more family friendly as well.
You
So
talked to Sean Peterson.
not lately.
Need to get up with him and get him on. He's very knowledgeable about grains and stuff. So he would be a great. I mean, he worked in that industry for a long time. He'd be a pretty good person to have to get up and speak if he's willing to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He's
The
real
first
knowledgeable about that.
the first year I had Vaughn Davis from
Yeah.
Schoolhouse
Oh
Farms.
yeah, that'd be. Yeah.
Vaughn got up there and did
That's
a
awesome.
little presentation on corn and stuff. And I got Joyce from Jeff the Creed. She came here and she got up there and did a little half-hour class.
Cool.
Then the craziness started and the band started playing and people started moving stuff into where the tastings was. We hadn't planned real well and it went to shit real quick.
Yeah.
And then nobody else got up and did anything. This past year, I brought JJ here specifically to do stuff like that. And Tater was going to do some things as well. And none of it got. We didn't have any classes whatsoever, nothing.
Yeah, I kind of promised to do that as well, and we just ended up getting smashed,
So,
over, and then the
right.
band
Yeah,
started.
it's easy to
By the
do.
time everybody woke up, the bands were starting. Yeah,
It's
'cause we
very
stayed
easy
up.
to
We stayed
do.
up till like 6, 7 in the morning. Me and Wes, a big, huge bunch of us. Man, it's just
I know.
staying
I
up
made my
late.
way around there. It was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
and I don't get a whole lot of sleep over that weekend, which is fine. I'm kind of used to that anyway. But last year was much less stressful than the year before, and I think this year is going to be even better. So last year we had 5, 6 people that really kind of knew what was going on.
right.
We had a decent little group of people that knew what was going on, which helped versus one person. Well, this year we got like 15 people that's on the board. We've got input from all different walks of life that have, they all bring something unique to the table, which helps. Plus, I'm also, pulling in people like yourself and John Vance and just different people who have something they can bring to the table that wants to get up here and talk
JJ,
about it.
I want to get up here for JJ. I spent probably good while talking to JJ. Last year at the festival and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Oh, he was
great
great.
guy.
And,
Yeah, great guy. I'd love to get up here and talk with him. He's awesome.
and that's kind of what we need. We need a session where we can just get a handful of people that's been in the moonshine business per se or distilling or it doesn't really matter what it's been in. That's just been in a business for a while. They can get up there and talk to people and answer questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people there that's got questions. Hell, I got questions.
Absolutely.
I'm not bashful about asking. I'll do something, and when I run into a roadblock, I'll call one of you guys or text you or message you and say, "Hey, this ain't working out. What do I need to do?" That's how I do stuff. But other people, absorb stuff from little sessions and talk, just talk sessions. Get up and talk about whatever. You don't even have to put a subject out there. Just say you can start with whatever and let people ask questions. Just let it go wherever it goes.
Yep.
So, having an hour or two of that each day of just sitting around with everybody bullshitting, to me, that's as good of a use of time in the middle of the day as anything.
Yeah, that's what we do here. We just sit around and bullshit and answer questions and take them one at a time and answer what we can. There's going to be some questions that are kind of complex that we can't answer. I don't have all the answers. I wish I
Right.
did. So
No
we'll
doubt.
find them. We'll look them up and find them, and if we don't, then we'll get an answer. We'll find somebody and answer them.
So surely somebody out of that group knows something.
What's going on, Richard? Hey, Scott. What's going on, Joseph? What's up, Chris? Good to see y'all in here. Scott, Matt, Joseph. Looks like a lot of the usual suspects.
Yep.
Good to have y'all in here with us. For those that don't know and just tuning in, we got Dan Gray with us from Farm to Bottle. We're going to be sitting here answering some related questions with distilling stuff. And anybody have any questions about Farm to Bottle? Now would be a great time to ask. I do know camping is a lot of what people have a lot of questions about. I know that's changed a little bit this year. So
Yeah, so this year we'll talk about the camping and bring it up later in the show, and we'll bring it up in case somebody else comes in too. But because I get that, a few people have asked me about camping and whatnot too. I'm never 100% sure on the price of camping. That's why usually people ask me, because the fairground, every year they've taken care of the pricing of the campground, and I just don't pay no attention to it because it's not on my site level. It's just
right,
not.
right.
I know I don't have to deal with it, so I don't know anything about it. Really, not much. I just know that the fairgrounds took care of it. And in the past, we had a phone number where to call the fairgrounds. Sometimes there are some communication issues, hard to get a hold of somebody at the fairgrounds. They only work certain days, certain hours, because it's a fair. And when they have their fair, of course, there's people there to the whole week long. But the other 51 weeks out of the year, it's just going to be 2 or 3 days a week, and you got to catch them at the right time.
To me,
So
that's one of the beauties of the festival is it's an affordable weekend for everybody. I
yep,
know, I'm not going to knock Maggie and Summer Jam. I love it, love going to it and going down there. But, accommodations, they get pricey. I'm just going to put it out there. You've got, you know, 2-star hotels and motels, charging 250, a night.
right.
And that's gouging, and I know that they need the money and they're trying to attract, tourism and bringing people in and stuff, but damn, for 2 or 3 nights, it's $700 some. It's like, whoa,
Yep,
not everybody can freaking do that. And
right.
fortunately, there
Absolutely.
is some primitive camps and motorhome type campsites, plenty of motorhome type campsites, some primitive camping you have to drive a little way to. But for those that want to go, you can drive to surrounding towns and get decent places 15, 30 minutes away, which is what a lot of people do. Um, but that's one thing I love about the farm to bottle. It's all in one little camp festival ground. You've got campgrounds here. You've got the central area here that's got the covered pavilion, the open pavilion. Enclosed areas for a lot of the education and displays and vendors and stuff. And then on the other side, you got all the food vendors and all that, and then boom, right there's the stage, kind of in between and in the middle of it also. Everything's right there. You can pull up, spend like I think it's like $50 a night, maybe, or
Yeah,
it
it's
might
50.
be
I do
yeah,
believe it's $50 a night. The only difference on that being, and it's nothing on the fairgrounds and nothing on Farm to Bottle Festival, but the health department came up with new regulations,
yeah,
and they're what they charge us to have a campground there, a temporary campground, was always like 25 or $50 for the weekend. Now it's based on the number of campers we get there, so it may cost us 750 or $1,000 depending on how many people we have there, and they basically what they do, it's from midnight to midnight, which is shitty in my opinion, but the fairground don't have no control over it and we don't have no control. It's all the health department. But
right,
so if you're going to stay for Friday night and Saturday night, my suggestion is don't come until Friday morning, because if you come Thursday night at 11:59, they're probably going to charge you $50 for that night, and then they got to charge you fifty
right,
dollars for
right,
Friday,
yeah,
fifty
I can
dollars for
see that.
Saturday, and then if you're there past midnight on Saturday, it's $50 on Sunday. We get charged per spot per day by them,
Yeah,
which they've never done before. This is a new thing, so I think they've just found a way to cash in a little bit, and so the
they're
cost
funny.
is a health department thing, and it's the money that we're charging ain't any difference, but the leniency on when you can start being there and when you got to leave. If you touch the part of 4 different days, and 4 different days is what you'll pay for.
Right,
So it's how it is. Ain't nothing we can do about it. So I would suggest, if you want to come Thursday, that's fine, but you'll be paying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday $200 for the weekend. If you come on Friday, yeah, you pay 150, and if you come on Saturday, you'll pay $100. So
right. And I understand, if you're actually sleeping there that night, if you come late
right,
Thursday, yeah, you're sleeping there, so you're going to pay for that night. That's fine, and that's the way the hotels are.
right.
At least it's not 250 a night.
Right, yeah, exactly. And there's
It's
some Airbnbs around there, and most of them are
right.
like in the $200-300 range per night. but they'll have 3, 4, or 5 bedrooms. I got a friend
Right.
that's got one that's got 5 bedrooms in it. It's $300 a night. So some people want a nice place to stay that's about a mile from the event. 5 bedrooms, but they've got a gym in there and all kind. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
crazy
mean,
the
people
stuff that
can
they
kind of
got.
go in on it together and,
Yeah,
have a
it's a
nice
big
party.
old. It looks like a big old southern plantation house, but it's right in the middle of Wilmington.
Cool. Yeah,
So
that'd be awesome, man. But yeah, something like that, you could expect to pay, $200-300 for, but
right,
not motel hell,
right, where you but one person or two people could stay in it. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So with that, you can go to the Farm to Bottle Facebook page. And on the Farm to Bottle Facebook page, if you scroll down just a little bit till you get to the part that says featured, the vendors forms on there because I've had some people ask about that. And the camping form is on there. You can fill them out, send them right back in, do everything there right online. And she'll send out, you can go ahead and get your camping spot now or your vendor spot. And then she'll send you an invoice out here in about a month, I think.
I'm
So,
posting a link to Farm to Bottle
goodness.
Facebook now. The link you guys just popped up for you all. There it is. So yeah, and what's going on with the health department there? Why are they so they've been so funny, it seems like. Is
I have
there
no
some bad
idea.
blood between it almost seems like there's bad blood between the festival people and the because I met the lady
It's
from the
between the fairgrounds and them. The fairgrounds has had some they've had some a deal with the health department for years, and they stick to that because even we're only allowed to use every other camping spot, whereas the fairground can use every single camping spot. But they're only allowed to do that during the fair. Otherwise, it has to be every other camping spot. It's just bureaucracy
yeah,
and a government agency doing what government agencies do, and that's complicating the round wheel. They make it
yeah.
square again, and then charge you to chop the corners off.
Yeah, I remember,
So
last year the lady was going around with her, handy dandy notebook, writing stuff down, going to each campsite, writing stuff down. I guess she was filling out people that hadn't gotten out by noon, maybe,
yeah,
and making a note of that, and telling people, you got to go. And I'm like, yeah, we're waiting on somebody to come. We got everything packed up. We're out of here. We're just waiting on somebody that owns the motorhome to get back with the keys, and
right.
we'll be gone. So yeah, they're pretty strict, and it's yeah, I don't
Now,
know.
in
And,
all
and there was
fairness to
something
them,
too.
what's
Uh,
that?
there was something too that the festival grounds isn't necessarily registered as a campground, and there's something that maybe that the
Yes.
city charges.
So basically, in Ohio, if you have a campground, you can either pay a permanent license or a temporary license. And if it's a permanent license, and you have 5 or more campsites, then you're under the blanket of the health department, and they kind of dictate everything to you that goes on with that. If you do a temporary thing like we're doing, they're still over it and they still make up all the rules and stuff, but it's for a short given amount of time and then that's it. Well, the cost to have a big campground year round that you're only going to use 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, I
Right,
mean, you're not going to use it a lot. It just ain't worth it to do that. So,
right.
that's why they do the temporary thing. Now, in all fairness to the health department, and I will take this a lot on my own shoulders, and I try not to, I can bitch about some of the stuff they do, but in all fairness to them, I've always been so busy. I push that shit right to the last minute of going over and filing the paperwork for getting our, food license and stuff for the inside, and getting the permit, or going over and paying for the permit for
Right.
the renting it for the festival, or having the permit for the festival and whatever. I ain't been real good at doing that. We got somebody else on that this year that's going to pay it way in advance. So they ain't pissed off when they walk on the grounds, which is good. They hopefully this year it'll take care of that, where they're just not mad when they walk on the grounds, because I waited until like 3 days before and went over there and gave them the
Yeah,
forms.
Chester
So
lives 25 9 minutes away. Yeah, you're lucky,
they
Chester.
like to have that stuff 30 days in advance. Like hell,
Yeah,
the liquor state liquor board did the same thing. They sent me an academic warning last year because they's like, you've gotten liquor license X number of times this year, and you've never sent one in within the 30 days that you're supposed to do. And if you don't start doing that, then we ain't going to give you a liquor license
Oh,
anytime that it's not 30 days in advance. So I was like, well, all right.
yeah,
Because people always told me, it's like, you can't get a liquor license unless you do it 30 days in advance. I was like, shit, I'm getting them in a week. Hell, I got one in like 2 days one day, but I guess they got tired of me doing that. So then it was like, damn it, quit
well,
it.
hopefully they can all get together and realize, this is a community thing. It's all about bringing people to the community, promoting farming from the community, promoting bringing people to the community to see it. People, come there and they're like, man, this is a nice place. It's my big, pretty good place to retire. Maybe I should
Right.
move a business here. Look at the land for sale here. That looks like a pretty reasonable price for that big old chunk of acreage there. I think I could do something here,
Right.
and
And
so it helps a lot. So
yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I'll take some stuff on the chin too for it because I haven't been the best at doing it. It's just sometimes some of the rule changes they aren't like subtle changes. Like this year's like a drastic change on you said and before you could stay Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and pay for Friday and Saturday and all was good. But that
right,
is not this. That is not this year.
not
They're like,
happening, huh?
no, nope. You ain't doing that. So this year, just bet what any day that you touch with your camper or tent, you're gonna pay $50 for it. That's just how it
Yeah,
is. So, all right. So enough about the camping for now. So on to the
yeah,
festival this year, since we did the whole background story on it and whatnot. So this year, a few new things. Like we said, we're gonna have a whole educational part of it that's different than what we've had in the past. And I've got some commitments from several different people, and I know these people, and I'm going to leave it in their hands to kind of put that together. There's going to be a block of time that we'll do the educational stuff, and like with JJ and you, if you guys want to figure it out.
yep.
You're not going to be the only two. We got some people, like I said, doing some lost waste stuff like canning and fermentation and holistic medicines and, food
Awesome.
preservation techniques, whether it be dehydration or whatever. We
I
got
put
some
the other
people.
flyer up now.
What's that?
I put the other flyer up now that shows all the different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Go ahead, put that one up because
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
actually look at that. And
Right. I was
so,
thinking we could kind of go by that.
so with the music this year, like I said, we're going to do two bands each night. Friday night, be a local band called Missing November. They play 70s, 80s, 90s, and modern rock. They may throw in a little southern rock or country in there occasionally too.
Cool.
And then the main act on that night is going to be One Way to Rock, which is a Sammy Hagar tribute. And they will do the stuff from Montrose. They'll do the Sammy Hagar solo stuff, and then they'll do all of his stuff that he did with Van Halen.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And and true to what we've done every year before, I try and have rock night on Friday night and more country-ish stuff on Saturday
Got a
night.
question. Were they there last year, or were going to be last year? And one of the guys passed away.
Who's that?
Was they going to be there last year, and one of the guys passed away from the
Who?
band, or something? That had to do with Sammy Hager and the tribute band. Was there?
No,
Who was
no.
that? Somebody
That
passed.
was Jack Russell from Great White.
Yeah, yeah, Great White. Yeah,
Yeah, he passed away a
yeah,
few weeks beforehand, maybe a month beforehand. But he had stepped away and wasn't going to be there anyway. He stepped
right.
away in late July. He announced, I think, in May that he was going to be stepping down, and at that point, we started getting another singer for that band.
Yeah,
And they did basically a tribute type band to Great White.
yeah,
So
yeah. So I couldn't remember. It was Great White, not Hager. Okay,
now,
I know it's something.
for anyone that was there the first year, I packed like 15 bands in there the first year on Saturday. They started at 11:30 in the morning, and me being the music guy, thinking that was going to draw all these people here that had been drinking all night and whatever, and nobody was interested in being out there watching bands at 11:30 in the morning. But
Right.
anyway, uh, you know. Uh, we cut that way down, and one of the bands that was here the first year though was a band called Dusty and Backwoods Drive, and they do some of their own original country music type stuff, and they do the classic Waylon type music. They'll
Cool.
do the more modern country type music, so a whole mix of every kind of country music plus some originals that they have. They'll be the headlining act that day. And then one that's seems to have made their way around a lot of the moonshine festivals is Lowdown Revival.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, they get
they
quite a
will
thing.
be the opening act on that night.
Cool.
So
What's going on, Frank? Hey, Leah. What's up, Mitch? And hello from Ohio, checking in. Fields and Creeks. What's going on? Good to have y'all with us. So there's also going to be this little thing. I don't know if anybody watched the shit show last week, but things got a little bit heated. I think Mr. Matt Brown paid a little visit and laid down some word. Man, he's fired up. He's ready, and I think him and Mr. Rigsby are going to have him a little boxing match.
it's going to be a fun match, and I was telling those two we've had a little three-way thread going since it
Right?
started. Just talking about different aspects of it and what was going to go on and whatever. And there's been a couple of times where they bumped heads on some things.
Yeah, it's
I'll tell you
happening up
what,
a bit.
if I could share the text message thread over the past 3 months and let everybody see it, the shit talking that went on there was so strong. We'd probably have a line of cars a mile long to come see that fight because you would think it was
Oh,
Tyson Tyson
it's
fighting Holyfield again, one ear
yeah,
short.
yeah. They've hyped it up, man. It's good though. It gets a lot of people talking about it. Gets a lot of interest, and if it's going to be a couple guys out there hugging and kissing, it's not going to be much interest to a lot of
Right.
people. But they
Right,
see
and
people
and
fired up. And, all right, this might turn out to be something real.
they're going to go at it, and they're
Yeah.
not going out to kill one another. But I don't think they're going to be like holding back. They ain't going to be no sissy
Neither
tapping
one
either.
want to lose. Let's just put it this way:
Yeah.
these guys have known each other since childhood. They've took
Yep.
karate classes together, had the same teacher,
Right.
and they've known each other for quite some time. So this is a rivalry thing that's kind of been brewing for a long time, and it should be interesting.
So so that's going to be Saturday evening. After, let me think. I think that'll actually start around 4:30, 5 o'clock. At least we'll start having people come in, sit down. We may do some, get up there and talk about some different things and whatnot, and try and get that actual match started by 5 o'clock. So it'll
Okay.
be the doors will open at 4:30. I'm guessing we should get that match started by about 5 o'clock, because right after that, when that's done, then we got the big time wrestling. That'll be
Right.
your standard wrestling match types, WWE type stuff. And I'm working on getting one or two names there that people would know. Who that's going to
Okay.
be, I'm not sure yet. And a lot of it depends on money and their availability. And,
Right.
there's a whole list of stuff. I know Sean Casey will definitely be there. Sean was a WWE wrestler for a while, but he's part of the group that's doing the wrestling. So, of course, he's going to be there.
Right. Awesome.
And then, we're looking at maybe getting a guest referee for this Sean Rigsby Matt Brown fight. I think Mr. Bruiser from Tiger Shine kind of threw
Okay.
his hat in the ring and said he'd like to be the ref. And he's kind of astute in the boxing profession somewhat, and has had some training of his own and some UFC type stuff. So, we may end up having Mr. Bruiser there as the person calling that match if we can work that out. So,
Awesome. I think he's the only person Matt didn't call out last week.
wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I remember him saying anything about Bruiser. I mean, I've heard Bennett and hell JJ and
Well,
everybody and their
well
grandmother, but
they may not even know about it because that's something me and Jason Davis discussed a couple of
okay.
days ago.
All right,
So
well,
they may
cool.
not even know that that's a possibility yet.
That's
So
cool. That'll be even better.
I don't
So,
recall if I told them or not.
so we gonna have any midget wrestling or female
Not
mud
this year, but
wrestling? Any
I will look into the midget wrestling for next year. I'm just kind of trying to see, this is one of those new things that we're doing this year to see how it
Right.
goes. I mean, it's an investment like having a big band there, to have the wrestling there and having the boxing on top of that, is nice to have. And it's definitely an extra attraction that'll bring some asses to put in the seats for sure. But we got to we just got to see what's going to work best. I mean,
Yeah.
16 bands a day don't work, so this is just trying something new and
Yeah. I
seeing
mean,
where it goes.
it was. I mean, it works if it's a music festival, like you said. But
Right.
this isn't what it's intended to be. you know, it
Right.
was great as a music festival, you know, but you have a lot of those as well. And
Yeah, I
after we
do
talk
some of
about
those
this,
already.
yeah, so after we talk about this, you can plug a few of those because I know some of those are coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
Rock the Block,
what
is that coming
what
up soon? And
yeah, Rock the Blocks and it's the same weekend as Maggie Valley,
right,
unfortunately.
right,
And then I've got the Harvested Here Festival, which is I don't want to say it's a watered down version of the Farm to Bottle Festival, but it's less bottle, more farm.
right,
So, and that's kind of how we got the idea to do stuff at Farm to Bottle Festival is from the Harvested Here Festival, which is basically we took a farmer's market that's been in existence there for years. And I said, hey, how about if we just extend that from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way out till 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and we fill it up with vendors and bands and all kinds of stuff, and have people downtown around the courthouse square and whatever else. And it was like, yeah,
awesome.
let's do it.
Well, yeah,
And
I'd
now
say that's
I borrowed
very
some stuff
popular
from
locally.
yeah, I borrowed some stuff from the Farm to Bottle the first year, which was the liquor tasting and stuff at Burnout Winery. They came there that first year. It
Yeah,
was their first
yeah,
event
those
they'd
dudes
ever
are cool.
done. The American Whiskey guys, they came, did their podcast. We had
Who?
Pabst stuff. We had Pabst was represented there, and pretty much
Awesome.
Ohio stuff. And that's one other thing. And I don't want this to discourage anybody from coming to Ohio, but I try and have a lot of Ohio focused products and stuff at both of these events too.
Right.
Um, and even at Rock the Block, I'll have a whole list of drinks that's just made from liquors that were made in Ohio. I mean, like Lawrence from Lawrence Pritchard, he's got Flat Rock Distilling. We'll make up a drink or two that's got uses Lawrence's products, and my buddy Fred up at Lake Erie Distilling. We'll use some of his stuff. We'll use some of Doug's in a drink. And use Pabst in a drink. Anybody that's in Ohio, Voodoo Vodka. I try and have as many people from Ohio as I can
I don't know if
because
Vince will be open by then. Is in
what's that?
between
Vince, he said he'll be
Vince,
open by Farm to Bottle. I don't
he
know if
will
he'll be
be.
open. I don't know if he'll be open by this Harvested Here or not because
Right.
it's in mid-August, so he probably should be. But
Yeah.
yeah, anybody that wants to come and do tastings that's a distillery or whatever here in Ohio at the Harvested Here Festival, they're welcome to do that too. There's never a charge for any of the tastings for a vendor to show up and taste their products. We carry the liquor license. They just come here. They can talk to each individual. It's not like your products one of 50 on a table that people can choose from. We let you set up your own individual table. Somebody can come over and talk to you. And I think that's important for the ones that want to do it. Some of them don't want to do it. They're okay with just having some of their product on that table of 50 liquors. But
I can guarantee them it's the cheapest advertising they'll ever fucking do.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It costs
It's
you to
awesome.
it'll cost them a campground or a camping site for the weekend, but that's about it.
Yeah. It's
But you'll
excellent.
get literally 1,000 or more people coming to your table talking to you and tasting your stuff. And I don't think there's anything better for somebody who's selling a product that, a consumable of any type, where you get to actually go meet the person or
Right.
the company that's making it and saying,
Meet the
yeah, I like
master
this shit or I
distiller. Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. You're actually meeting the person that crafts it. That's not, and there's been quite a few distilleries that have spun off from the moonshine industry, legal distilleries in Ohio, and it's
Yep.
become a big thing, man. I mean, there's a lot of distilleries opening up in Ohio. It's big. I mean, there's a
It's
lot.
it's it's definitely on the grow, and hopefully this festival, even if it helps one or two businesses get off the ground, that's good. I know it helped Burnout Winery a lot.
Yeah,
They
those
was
dudes are
just
chill as hell. They're cool.
yeah, those dudes are really good dudes. They're going to be at both festivals this year. They're doing Harvested Here again. They're doing Farm to Bottle again.
Cool.
Hell, if I can talk them in to come up and doing a wine tasting at Rock the Block, we'll do it there too.
Yeah.
So basically,
I've
I've
not
got
had a chance
something.
to meet them in real life yet, but I've seen them on some of the podcasts and shows and stuff, and
Yep.
both of them seem real,
And
real
I'll tell
cool.
you what, man, their wine is good. I'm not a big wine person, but
I like
most
wine.
of
I make a lot of wine.
most of what they have is sweet wine, but they do have some dries and stuff too. But even sweet wines to me, sometimes they're like, whatever. I drank Boone's Farm when I was in high school
Right, right.
because it tasted good, but it,
And the
really
girls
was.
liked it, right?
Yeah,
That's all good.
yeah,
It's a good
absolutely. The
club.
girls liked it too. So I drank. I didn't like beer, so I was like, well, shit, I'll drink wine. So I drank wine and wine coolers because I couldn't stand beer. Now I love beer. It's kind of
We
weird,
understand,
but
Scott. Well, I wish we could get everybody there, man. It's really, been to quite a few festivals, and They're actually a good one going on this weekend, popcorn jam. But this is definitely one of my favorites, and it's shot
It's
to
a
the top. Literally, it was it's fairly young, but it's boom. It's one of the most
it's a
popular
horse
ones.
of a different color festival for sure. It's not, and I really wanted to go to Popcorn Sutton Jam this weekend, but I just couldn't do the work.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I could have left this morning and tried to get down there at some point, but my work
it's
schedule's
tough.
so hectic right now. It's just tough to
If it were
do.
closer, to where I could just drive there, spend the day, and drive back, I would have
Right.
definitely done that. But it's just like a 6 hour drive for me, and probably like an 8 hour drive for you.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, and I didn't realize Beattyville wasn't going on here next week or the week
Yeah,
after
they
next or
had
whatever.
some flooding this year that shut them down, and a lot of their power grid and stuff was affected. And the downtown area was affected, and
Right.
Donnie and them was just it wasn't going to work. Hopefully maybe this fall. Still not heard anything from them, so I'm not
Is that
sure,
the
but
Woolly Worm Festival that they do? Maybe they can
yeah,
blend those two together
yeah,
during that time of year or
that,
something.
that's going to be a possibility as well. So hopefully they'll do something, because that's something I can go to, and it's pretty close
Right.
by, and you can drive
Yeah,
down
for
to
me, it's
a
about
couple
a 3 or 4 hour
hours.
drive
Yeah,
roughly.
yeah,
And I can do that and come back in a day. It doesn't bother me. I drive all day, every day, so it doesn't bother me to drive. But anyway, I would like to get to some of these other events and stuff just so I could see how the other events go, because I have no idea how Maggie Valley goes. And the
right.
bad part about it is, it's the same weekend I do Rock the Block every year, and we've been doing that 8 years now. So it's like there will be a weekend coming up probably in the next year or two, and it depends on how Maggie Valley determines what their weekend is. But we do the last weekend of the month, so sometimes the last weekend will fall on the 30th and 31st, and some places do the fourth weekend, and
Right.
that would put them up on like the 23rd and 22nd. If that happens, I can make it to it on a year like that. But
Yeah, I got some bad news earlier, this week. My cousin, emailed me and said, "Oh, we've set the time for the family reunion this year. It's going to be September 13th at such and such." And I'm like, "Gonna miss y'all.
I'll
Sorry.
see you next year.
Yeah, maybe next year, different day. Try a different day next year."
Right.
Yeah, hell no, I ain't missing it.
Well, and that was, early on for us. We haven't done as near as much advertising early as I usually do for this. How I usually start in March with this festival,
Right.
but I haven't done a lot, and it's okay. I mean, we've all talked about it, but I haven't had like this flyer here or anything like that really tangible, because there was some issues we had. We had an issue with the date. We had issues with the music. We had issues with all kinds of different stuff. So we wanted to make sure we had 95% of those issues resolved before we ever put out an official flyer. So the one that you got up on the screen is the flyer with the dates, the times, and I look for that to stay pretty consistent with that. There probably won't be a lot of changes. I'm not going to add a band every other week like I usually do,
Right. Right.
and stuff like that. There may be a couple things get added in there, but they'll just be little simple contests and stuff. This year we got like a kid zone, which is good. We haven't been able to really bring that home in the past, and we kind of want to do something with kids. So we contracted with this place to bring bouncy houses, and he's got like a train that he takes them all through the fairgrounds and stuff
Oh,
on and whatever.
hell, I want to ride
Um,
on that.
yeah, no doubt. And then we got a little jelly ball thing too that I think somebody's going to possibly bring. They came the first year, they didn't do very good, so they didn't come back last year. But I told them, look, we'd like to have you there, and we'll at least make sure that you come out okay.
Right. Well, there's going to be
So
less bands, so people will be
right.
able to focus on you and not just gravitate
Well, and
towards
there'll be
music
there'll
like
be
a
something there for kids
bunch
to
of
do
lights.
other than just jelly ball. I
Right.
mean, I got lots of ideas, and I have ideas that are this big. But bringing them all home into one festival in the first year is hard to do, because the first year, hell, I was going to have a escape room there, axe throwing, rock wall climbing, you name it, man. I
Paintball.
had I had everything figured out that we was going to have, and then I realized that how freaking impossible it was going to be to to do all that
Yeah.
stuff the
Well,
first year.
it's going to
So
evolve, and
yeah,
that's with the advertising. When you first get started, you have to push that advertising out there, man. Have to
yep,
get the word out, because nobody's ever heard of it. But as it
right.
becomes more and more popular, it's less I need to advertise, and more I need to get this shit together, because asking.
Right.
So
And that's
what you
kind of
want,
where
though.
we're
That's a good
at.
thing. Yeah.
That's where we're at this year is, got some new stuff, got stuff for
Hey,
kids. It's
Lisa.
more, hey, Lisa, how you doing? I actually seen you post on there.
Yeah.
I don't get the comments down here. If I pull up the comments, then I can't see the screen. So you're probably looking at two different
Yeah.
computers, aren't you?
I've got a big 32-inch monitor. I can open up multiple windows at once.
Okay,
And
yeah, gotcha. I do most everything from my phone. So
this is what I see. It's a massive us, and
oh
I
yeah,
got
okay,
I've got all the comments way over here. So
yeah, okay, yeah.
it's massive. Yeah, it's like a little TV here on my desk.
I've just gotten so used to doing everything on my phone. That's what I do most of the time. I probably need to pull my laptop out. I started about once a year. It seems
Oh,
like
yeah.
there'll be something I need to use it for. But anyway, so what's that bottom section on this thing say here? I can't remember
This
what that is.
is beer, wine, liquor tastings,
Oh,
Friday
okay,
3 to 9. Yeah. And
okay,
Saturday noon to 4, educational activities. Most important.
gotcha. And then if you look at that flag over at the right, if you are a first responder or military, police, fire, anything like that, there's going to be a discount there. I can't remember what they said, and I don't want to throw a number out there for sure, but it'll either be $2 off or $5 off admission. I don't remember
Right.
which it'll be, but it'll be something like that.
Mission
And,
$10. That's very
yeah,
reasonable. Yeah.
and it's $10 a day. But I think we'll probably run a special for people that come where it's $15 for the weekend for the 2 days. So if on Friday when you come, you buy it for 2 days, you get it for $15.
Awesome.
If you buy a camping spot there, then you get it for $10. So you just pay 1 day's admission if you have a camping spot. So
Perfect. That's excellent.
yeah, little
So,
little bit of something extra there for people.
so the QR code there just pulls up the page that I just shared the link to.
What's that?
The QR code brings up the Farm to Bottle on
Oh yeah,
Facebook.
that'll take you straight to the Farm to Bottle Facebook page.
Okay, cool.
Now, if you want to see some more in-depth stuff, I actually got on my website the other
All right.
day, cleaned it
RJ
up.
just said $5 off with ID.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Yes, $5 off with ID. Thanks for
Thanks, RJ.
chiming in there. RJ is one of the guys on our board, and he's like
so.
that. He's like that extra piece of memory that I don't have that gets lost when I start talking about shit. So it's good that some of these guys are watching because they can chime
he's
in.
Your Lisa then.
Yeah.
Lisa, that's what Lisa does for me. She helps me when I get stuck and I've got that word I'm looking for because I'm getting a little old and senile. She helps me out.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Hell no.
So if RJ's on there, he's the one that keeps the track of the minutes and time, so he would know how much the discount for the military is going to be. If he can post it in the comments there, that would be great, or at least we'll put it out at some point. Cool. So, but back to the website. So Farm to Bottle.
Scott. Now you don't have an excuse to be there, so you got to be there, Scott. Or they said it's close to home. There'll be no excuses for you, brother.
No doubt. So farmtobottlefest.com is our website. I went in there the other day, got rid of all the old stuff from the last 2 years. A lot of times I'll use templates and I won't realize that I didn't take out some of the crap that the template had in there.
Right.
So I cleaned it all up the other day. I will add some stuff, but I tried to put good, pertinent information about this year in there that people could use. So go to Farm to Bottle Fest. You don't have to put the IVAL, just farmtobottlefest.com. And that will have, you'll probably see this flyer on here. I put a little bit of info about each one of the bands. We'll do a section on tastings and everybody that's going to be there once I know for sure all the people that are coming. I mean, some of the regulars I'm sure will be there. Paps will be there. Doug Taylor will be there. Most of those master distiller guys that came every year are probably going to be there. Lake Erie Distilling, I'm not sure. There's a lot going on there. And now, honestly, if anybody knows Fred from Lake Erie Distilling, he could probably it would be useful to put him in your thoughts and prayers. He's got some stuff going on that's not very favorable. So
awesome.
but they'll be at least represented there one way or the other. I talked to his wife today, and I try to talk to him every couple of days just to keep up with him. He's kind of became a pretty good friend over the last 2 years. He was like one of the first ones to be like, yeah, I'm a distillery from Ohio, and I'm going to come there, and I'm the like treasurer or secretary of the Distillers Guild for Ohio, and I'm gonna come down just
Awesome.
see what it's all about. So he came
Okay.
down. He's really liked it. Has some really good dill pickle vodka. If you are a Bloody Mary person and you like Bloody Marys, I'll tell you what, you throw a little bit of that dill pickle vodka in there, and it gives a Bloody Mary just an extra level of flavor that
Yeah.
it's really good. So hope Fred is able to make it this year, and even if he can't because of any health reasons or whatever, then we'll still represent him for him at the Farm to Bottle Festival.
Awesome.
I don't know if Lawrence from Flat Rock will be there. Voodoo Vodka will probably be there again this year. AM Scott's will probably be there. Burnout Winery is going to be there. And I always got new ones every year. Like Jeff the Creed was there the first year, couldn't be there last year, but they might be there this year. Jeff the Creed's got some good
It's a
stuff.
big name.
I'll tell you what, if you guys go out on the Bourbon Trail, stop there and go take their little tour, man, because
Yeah, that's really close
they
to me.
take you
That'd
right
be a
out.
big name too, you know.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's
Enjoy.
something I was getting ready to say about the difference in a lot of the distilleries in Ohio versus here. You know, a lot of the distilleries here, there's some good craftsmen, but most of them are like the big guys, you know, and it's
Right.
like
The
you know,
Beams and the
yeah,
Daniels.
yeah. Well, not Daniels, that's the Tennessee. That's wrong.
Oh, well, that is Tennessee.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so they don't get involved in as much grassroots stuff as a lot of the craft distillers do and stuff like that, and that's the heart of it, and that's what I really like the most.
Well, I'll tell you what happened last year with Jeff the Creed. So we had this September 19th, 20th, 21st, whatever it was last year. Just so happens that I had it on the same weekend that they have their Bourbon and Beyond Festival in Louisville.
Right?
So I am going to draw net zero from that group of people on the
Yeah,
weekend of their big bourbon festival in downtown Louisville. It ain't happening. So this year, with it being a week beforehand, I think I'll probably get some of the ones that didn't come last year to come back this year because it ain't going to be competing with Bourbon and Beyond. So.
right. I think isn't this weekend? Maybe I'm wrong. When they're having that big country music or music festival in Ashland, the Kid Rock and all
Oh,
of them and stuff.
yeah, I think it is this weekend. And it's going to
Yeah,
be in like 4 or 5 cities across the country, but
right.
yes.
Yeah,
I do
it's
believe
gonna
I
be
did.
huge.
I've been seeing the advertisement for it. I'm pretty sure that is this coming weekend though in Ashland.
Yeah. So education, we're going to have talk about this canning and food preservation. I know we've just started a Facebook group, and I've been probably sending too much stuff there. I've been posting. I get in. Ann and I we do a lot of canning and stuff, and I grow a lot of tomatoes and peppers and a lot of different things. We make salsas and pizza sauce and marinaras and everything else, and so we're into canning, preserving, do a lot of fruit jellies and jams and preserves and things of that nature too. So love doing that and promote that side and promote what's going on with that at Farm to Bottle, because it's
So
part of the farm side that we
I've
wouldn't
kind of
emphasize.
always, at least for the last 8, 9 years, I've kind of been, even though I work in healthcare, I've kind of been more of on the holistic side of it for myself
Hmm.
personally.
Right.
Because I think God put a lot of stuff in nature that was good for us, and I think it's good to use natural products versus something somebody's making money off of because they demonize some other product that grows naturally. And at the end of the day, people can agree or disagree. That's fine. But that to me, that's what happened is, we're going to make Marinol, which is a synthetic form of marijuana because the kind that grows on the plant naturally is bad for you.
Right.
Well, fuck that. That's just how I see it. No, you know
Oh,
what?
wait. I was wrong. It's July 11th, and that's the same time Philbilly's having his. Okay, I knew it was
Okay, yeah.
conflicting with something. It wasn't popcorn. It's Philbilly's, and that's July 11th when it's having. I couldn't remember quite, but yeah.
So
So
with doing these farm events, I was like, you know what? we can add some of that stuff into it. I got that book. I mean, I got suckered into it on TikTok and bought that Lost Ways book, but it's got a lot of good stuff. And I got
Yes.
the one, I got the one with natural herbs and remedies and stuff like that. Also good stuff. A lot of stuff you can grow in your garden or have in your cupboard or whatever. And I believe that there's a lot of good in things that come from the earth that people can use. The problem is, just like the book says, it's lost ways. My mom, even though she was in the medical field and EMT back starting in the mid 70s and whatever,
Right.
she always just bought right into whatever the mainstream healthcare told them to believe. You believe whatever they say. And it's like, well, certain types of sugar are good for you. This is bad for you. And at the end of the day, I don't think there's too many things, unless it's like hemlock or something like that, that you can get from nature
Right.
that's really not as effective or more effective than some other synthetic version. Nobody else has to believe that, but I do. So, and I think giving people the opportunity to at least hear that, understand what certain types of stuff that you can grow at your house or have in your cupboard or whatever can help you out is great. Canning was
And
something.
Lisa knows I'm about to mention her name, and she's very helpful in that. And I'll point out, there's a reason pharmaceutical companies are sending researchers out into the jungles and the forests all over the world looking at a
Right.
lot of plants and stuff, because most of our medicines and everything today either were derived from plants or
Mimicked. They mimic a plant.
mimic it. They synthesize it, right?
Right. So what got me on the holistic thing was one thing one person said at one time, which was uh, you cannot monetize a natural growing substance.
Right. Yeah, you
So
can't get a patent on a plant
yeah, if
unless you
if
modify it in certain
if
ways.
everybody can grow a heroin plant or an opium plant at their house and treat themselves for their own pain and whatever, somebody can't make no Dilaudid, or they can't make fentanyl, and they can't make all that stuff and sell it because anybody else would be able to make it, and it's not going to make them any money.
Right.
So, and the same thing with cocaine and any of the other ones that you want to talk about, and any of the drugs that we have. There's plenty of stuff that's like good for your heart and good for your blood pressure and good for your diabetes, or your blood sugar, all of those things. There's plenty of natural substances out there, but the problem is they do studies that say that stuff doesn't work, but check out XYZ here. This stuff is the bomb.
Well,
And
not
by the
only
way,
not
you can't grow that shit at your house over there no more.
and not only that, it's that shit works. They were saying that 5-10 years ago, yeah, that stuff doesn't work. You need this. But of course, now the stuff that they're talking about that works, 5 or 10 years ago, now they're saying no, you don't want that anymore. You got to get this top tier drug, and that's
Right.
and that's where all the money comes from. Is they reinvent drugs that really didn't need, the drug that they had that treated it before was perfectly fine, but
Right.
the patent runs out on it after so long, and people can start making generics. And once that happens, push that shit to the side. We got to focus on making a new one. Well, I don't care if it's better than the other one. We just have to
Right.
get something that we can say is better, and say
And
we
then
did a
find
few
something
studies.
wrong with that other one.
Yep, and then all of a sudden reintroduce that as a new tier drug, and of course charge your insurance companies out the yazoo for it. And that's the way pharmaceuticals work. For
And
those that
I
don't
know,
know.
I want everybody listening here to hear this part too. I am not against mainstream medicine whatsoever. I work in the emergency part of that, and 99% of the stuff that they do in emergency rooms is a necessary thing. I'm more of my stance that's different on healthcare is more of the general practitioner that comes in and says, "Hey, I want to put you on this medication, that medication, whatever." I just believe that there's other options that are natural that are just as effective, and I think that part of the medical profession should talk to people more about diet and should talk to people more about natural ways to resolve something versus it always being a direct default to some drug that's on all the commercials on TV right now.
Right.
And that's the part that I have the issue with. I believe emergency medicine is probably one of the best things there is. If you fall down and break your leg, there's not an herb you can go out there that's going to fix that shit.
No, no.
Somebody's got to set it and put it in place and put a cast on it. Now you might be able to do that yourself at home or have a friend do it, whatever. But or if you're
You might
actively
walk
having
funny for the rest of your life.
right, if you're actively having a heart attack or whatever, there's miracle drugs and stuff that will fix some of that stuff right on the spot. Now, there's also some herbal remedies for stuff like that, but more of those things are more of a maintenance thing than a uh, acute thing. So if you're having a heart attack, you don't need to be looking in the damn book to see, all right, which one of these herbal remedies can I mix up and how quick can I have that done for this heart attack I'm having right now.
Right, right.
Nah, go to the
And a lot of
hospital.
times,
Go to the
too,
hospital
they
for that.
treat the symptoms and not the cause, and
Right.
don't get rid of the cause, because that keeps you coming back and keeps you refill those prescriptions. But and that's why they just kind of treat the symptoms instead of finding the cause. And insurance companies are as guilty as any, that allow that to happen. But yeah.
So at both of these festivals, we're not going to be giving anybody any medical advice, but we are
Right,
going to be
right.
giving them some information on things that they can take that's good for them, that grows naturally, how to harvest that, how to preserve it, things like that. And same thing with food. And, there's a few other things I'm going to try and do this year. I don't know if we'll get it done or not, but it's probably going to be next year. I was wanting to give away a whole cow this year that comes from a friend of mine, and this cow's grown right. And if you butcher this cow and look at it next to the stuff in the grocery store, they don't even look like they came from the same kind of animal.
Right.
But it's the calf is only about 3 or 4 months old right now. Will not be ready for, to be basically what I was going to do is kind of do a raffle for something like that. But I'm probably going to be able to do that till next year. But we'll do some really good grass-fed beef type stuff this next year at this festival. I'll have some really good meat. Somebody can take home a freezer full of meat from there, if they're the lucky person.
Awesome. They got
So
some of that Wagyu in Ohio growing this.
I don't know if they got the Wagyu or not. It's just a buddy of mine. I've been talking to him about the last couple of years, and he kind of threw in a little bit on the Harvested Here festival last year in its first year. And so, I said, hey, I want some good, just plain old grass fed beef that hasn't been mixed with 75 other cows and whatever. When you eat a hamburger and it all comes from one cow, I think that's better than eating a hamburger that's mixed with 750 cows.
Yep.
Just my opinion. Everybody else may not think that, but I think it's a good thing. So, and I think if people did more of that and less of the other, they probably wouldn't be as sick as they are.
Right.
So, because you never know what you get or where it comes from. Hell, you might even get a cow that's got meat from 6 different countries in it, or you might get a hamburger that's got. They just take it all from any, no matter where it comes from, and throw it in one big old pot,
Yeah.
mix it all together.
That's
So,
why I like getting my hamburger from a butcher that cuts meat, trims meat, and makes their own. I like buying
right,
it in the big tubes, that's been pressed in and stuff. I like buying it in the foam and plastic and something that came right out of the butcher. And
right.
that's
Yep. So, basically that this year at the Farm to Bottle Festival and Harvested Here, those are just a couple things that you'll be able to get some insight on, and might be something you want to do or might be something that bores you. But if it does, we'll have like a band playing somewhere. You can go listen to that.
you'll
So,
not be bored. There's plenty of things to do,
yeah,
and just
there's
sit
plenty to
around.
do
Just
for
sitting around
sure.
talking and drinking, that's half the fun. So there'll be plenty of that
Hey,
as well. Yes,
something
Richard, I
else I'm going
did,
to do
and I
this year.
haven't forgot you, brother. But after we get done talking, I'm going to do the opening. So yeah, I got your mail call, bro.
One other thing that we'll probably try and do this year is yeah, I lost it for a second.
All
Give me a
right,
minute. I'll think
okay.
about it.
I'm going to
But
try to be loose here and refresh your memory.
well, refreshing this memory is hard to do sometimes.
I
But
know, man. It takes
anyway,
a lot of mental cues for me to memorize it. But we were talking about a lot of the canning and food preservation and distilling herbs and holistic remedies and stuff. And about the meat, so you're going to do the raffle maybe next year?
yeah, well, I've already got it set up with him. We talked over here at the little local pizza place that me and him both visit, and it's kind of like a pizza place and a bar mixed in together.
So it's
So
going
I
to
was
be
over
like
there
for
and
half a
take.
cow, two,
Yeah, it'd be two
two.
halves of a cow. We'll just do two different raffles. I'll probably do
Okay,
one half of it
that'll
at
work.
Harvested Here and half of it at Farm to Bottle. But
Cool,
it'll be ready by about June or July next year, and we'll just hold it over till
awesome.
right before the festivals, and then have it processed and whatnot. So,
Yep.
but anyway, I don't remember what that was I was going to say, but I'm
We'll
sure
get
I'll
into
say it
it.
some other time, or I may have already said it once. I'm pretty good at
Somebody
repeating
fell
myself.
through. Yeah, somebody fell through. Something
What?
fell through.
Something fell through? Mm, no, it ain't ringing
Okay.
no bells.
Yeah,
But
that's what Lisa. She's my cue gal.
well, what fell through? The only thing that fell through is we just wasn't able to do the cow this year
Right.
because
Right.
it just wasn't going to be big enough. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll think of it at some point. If I do, I'll hop in one of your shows and I'll blurt it out. That's just how
Yeah,
I
yeah.
work.
And
That's how I roll.
as soon as we turn it off, it'll hit you. You know,
Yeah,
that's
no
where it
doubt.
always works
It
for me.
it seems like it was super important, and I'm mad because I can't remember it right now. But oh well, it is what it is. But anyway, I mean that's probably all I've got for the farm to bottle right now. As we add some things and do some things, have some more information for the festival, we'll get on and talk about that later on here in the summer, and
Cool.
especially in the week or so leading up to that. I'll try and get on everybody's show the week or two leading up to the festival, just so anybody's got any last minute questions and things like that, they'll be able to ask. I'm gonna be on various podcasts throughout the summer. I know I talked to Jason Bartoluzzi. I'm gonna do his moonshine metal or something like that, or
Right.
metal, yeah, metal
Moonshine,
moonshine.
metal, mayhem,
Yeah,
marijuana. I don't know. Let's throw all the ends in there. I don't know.
I'm gonna.
Jason's awesome guy though. He's
He
cool.
is. He's a good dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna do his show sometime soon, and there's a few others I want to do. I think Jason Davis might do one with a couple different people. Oh, one thing I will say on I'm going to be at the Philbilly thing on July 12th. I think he's doing the
Cool.
11th and 12th. Is that
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So, and we're going to do something with Matt and Sean on the 12th, some kind of like a little face-off sizzle reel
All
kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and probably let some
Like a
people.
little UFC weigh-in where
Yeah,
they
let
get
some
into the
people
stare
poke the
down.
fire a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah, well, we're gonna do that at that, and I'll be there filming that, and I might even be the
Awesome.
one doing the
Oh, there'll be plenty
shaking the
poking the
beehive a
flies,
little
man.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that's gonna be great, and I think that's something that'll be a big draw for people this year. And if anybody, and here's another thing: if anybody wants to, if they got something that they're passionate about and they feel comfortable getting up in front of a crowd of people and talking about it, hit me up. We need more stuff like that. I don't want to put 4, 5, 6 hour time on Santa here and JJ and 2 or 3 other
Yeah.
people. I'd rather have 10 people up there taking a 30-minute session talking about I like this kind of hops for beer because and talk about it, or I use these techniques when I'm distilling to get this taste or this effect or whatever for my moonshine that I make,
Right.
whatever you want it to be, or I like this kind of still, or I like that kind of corn, whatever, doesn't matter. If you got something you're passionate about, or even if it fits into the whole holistic canning lost ways type stuff, whatever, any of those things that that you can do, that you're passionate about, that you got some information to share, that's what it's all about, sharing information with each other. And you can go there and get a year's worth of, probably a bachelor's degree in distilling for $10.
Well, here we go. We got a question. When is Matt getting beat up again?
Oh,
Oh, starting it up.
I mean, it could be as early as September 13th.
13th for sure.
I don't know if
Unless something gets out of control at Philbilly's on the 11th or 12th, on the 12th.
it could.
Yeah.
You never know. Like I said, man, the shit talking in that message thread that I've got is pretty good. So,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely
yeah.
get him roused up at Philbilly's and get him going. That'll be a lot of fun. Of course, Rigsby will be late, and that'll give Matt a chance to get what he needs to say out.
Right, absolutely. Sean's been much more reserved. He responds, but he doesn't antagonize a whole lot.
Yeah,
So,
he's the strong silent type, I guess. The
and
confident silent type that doesn't hype. And
he
I, that,
that may you never know. Sometimes that could be the person that could come out like a wildcat, and
yeah,
maybe he just
surprise you. Yeah.
and he said he hasn't ever done a professional fight, and Matt's done one before. So
Yeah. So those
it'll be what it is.
he
But
may let his gloves do the talking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's a Taekwondo or
Muay
Tai
Thai,
Chi
yeah,
or Muay Thai. Yeah, that's it. I'm not even sure what that is. I know it's a type of martial arts, but I don't know what it really focuses on.
yeah.
But
I think a lot of wrestling and stuff. You know,
right.
a lot of knees, kicks, and wrestling.
So,
Now,
all right.
I'd like to see them both do the MMA thing instead of boxing because you know I'm definitely big into MMA. I always have been as a kid. Um, so you know we'll have some real fighting there, and then we'll have wrestling.
You know, I know kind of along the lines of what I might have been thinking was I was wanting to talk about if anybody had any ideas for a couple good little contests. Now, we're not talking about the whole thing that's going to be in the campgrounds. That's a separate deal ran by some other people that the Farm to Bottle Festival is not really a part of. But
Right.
we could do, if somebody is interested in maybe a chili cook-off using all ingredients from Ohio, or everything at least has to be. Um, uh, d- you know, not from a store shelf per se. I mean, I guess some of it has to be from a store shelf, but use local ground beef in it and use homegrown tomatoes and homegrown chilies and stuff like that. You know, maybe do some
Right.
kind of contest like that, or
Chili cook-off.
have
Yeah.
a canning contest where, or some jam and jelly contest, whatever. Anything to get. I really want to get as much of that kind of stuff in there this year as we can. So.
Yeah. And you know some ideas for activities and games, you know, and
Right.
different things that you could do for that, you know.
Yep.
Kickboxing is more Muay Thai. Yeah, I was thinking it's more kicking and is it wrestling as well? Ground game. I'm not in tune with all the different types, but I'm sure Rusty or somebody will chime in. But yeah, yes, maybe some ideas for different games and stuff. Are you going to do cornhole? I guess be something a
I
lot of
don't
people
know if
enjoy.
I can get somebody to come run that. I will. I do have a guy that's going to do a car and bike show for us, but
Okay.
that's like going to be 100% in his hands. But he'll set that all up, and we're pretty much hands off on that. But he does car shows all the time. He offered last year to do it when he kind of seen. I've always had to try and run that myself, which is just hard to do with the other 75 things I'm trying to run to.
Right.
So I've got a guy in Wilmington that does car shows all the time, and he has offered to do the one for the Harvested here and the Farm to Bottle. And as I get some info on that, I'll put that out too. So if anybody's
Right.
got a nice old car that they want to drive up here, as soon as we
Or
get
rat
the
rod. If you
what's
have a
that,
rat rod, we're a rat rod.
or rat rod, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, those are
anything that you would
popular.
want to throw in a car show, bring it.
So Scott's wondering about what about homegrown liquor? It is a state thing and a liquor license thing, so there are going to be some rules as far as what can be done and where.
But
Where they
that's
do the tastings and stuff, yeah, you're not going to be able to bring all that in there, and there's not going to be, us showing our wares in there. That happens in the campground, so that has to be separate from the rest of it for legality. Uh,
right.
Marijuana, though, is something I think it's always been a question. We know that it's now recreationally legal in Ohio. Each year, it gets a little bit more laxed and people are a little bit more familiar. I know the city, the state, and a lot of the locales had to kind of get a feel for what's going on. I think last year was really the first year that it became recreational, right? So
Yeah, and
somebody said
here's some
Scott,
things
so
on
again,
that.
respect Scott.
Um, there we go. We'll have a drink.
Yeah,
Basically, when it comes to the marijuana, that's probably not going to be allowed inside the area where the liquor permit would be, which is basically the general festival area. What somebody does on their own camp or on their own time is totally up to them, or what they do outside of that perimeter, that's up to them. But they probably will be policing that to an extent this year, on people smoking within that area. And that's just a preference that the fairgrounds has. And, we're just going to have to respect their wishes on that.
right, right.
I don't have a problem with anybody smoking anywhere, but it's not my place and it's their wishes to not have that. And I think we got to be respectful of that and just kind
Absolutely.
of do what you did before when it wasn't legal, and go over and behind a tree somewhere and take care of business.
Yeah, go in the tent,
or or have some in a thing of caramel and eat that.
Right.
Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
know. Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
smell it. They're not gonna know that you're eating a caramel
Right.
that's full of THC. So,
Or a vape pen. They don't know if that's a regular vape juice
well, it
or
depends
what.
because we
So
had that. We had that the first year.
you
Before
smell it though,
the
I guess.
first year, it wasn't recreational, but that stuff smelled like they might as well have been lighting up a joint in there. So, and that's honestly what got the whole thing going. They was smoking it inside the building, and the whole building smelled like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so we're just gonna stay away from that. You know,
Oh man. You in
but it's
trouble,
on
man.
the liquor
You in so
stuff.
much trouble. I put it up there too.
As far as the liquor laws go in the state of Ohio, and I know it's not this way everywhere, but in the state of Ohio, whatever perimeter that we draw out and say liquor by the Farm to Bottle Foundation is going to be served within these boundaries, no other liquor from anywhere can come in or out. So you can't leave there with a drink in hand, and you can't come there with a drink in hand. Everything's got to be consumed within that boundaries. Which I mean,
Right.
the boundaries is
It's
most of the area where the festival. It's a huge
right.
boundary. It's not like we put you in a little 6x6 square and a beer garden outside.
It's just
I
going to
mean, you got
exclude pretty much
you
the
got
camping area.
basically everything but the campground
Right.
is where you can drink stuff from the festival. But you just gotta make sure if you have something that's at your camper, that's fine. You can drink that at your camper. You can share it with your friends over there when you're sitting outside talking. Do whatever you want to do, but you just can't bring that kind of stuff in and out. And that's even with a can of beer or whatever that came from your cooler. You can't do that either. And you know, we'll probably have beer served differently, so we'll know when you if you walk in with a can, then you know you can't bring anything in that's got anything to drink in it per
Right.
se. So and that's the only way for us to police that and be fair about it. So
What's going on, Justin?
Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Didn't see you come in until he said hi, Lisa. What's up, brother?
But
So
and we'll go over more rules and stuff like that. I try and keep the rules as simple as I can, but there are some things that aren't my rules, but it's other people's rules, and we're gonna make sure we abide by those.
right.
Simply because we don't want to mess up any relationship we got with a fairground, because that's a great place to have it at. So
And
I certainly
I
don't
don't
want to
want
screw
people
that
to
up.
I don't want to get people to get paranoid either because
Right.
last year, we had a great time. We were up late. We didn't make a lot of noise, and that's one thing that they do ask that, no cranking the stereo after the band leaves at midnight. It's quiet time. So, you got to
Right.
keep it to a dull roar and just hang around the campfires, talk, drink, smoke.
And
And we never didn't have any issues at all. We kind of openly smoked last year and drank. And as long as you're not being rowdy, loud, and starting fights or getting aggressive and being disorderly, you know it's just very laid back and cool. So as long as that's not happening, it's
we'll
all
we'll
it's
probably
a very
have a
very
person
pleasant.
assigned to the campgrounds this year for the nighttime hours that'll just be up the whole time.
Right.
And basically just to keep the peace, not to come over there with a dog whistle every 30 seconds and tell you you're
Right.
in
Right.
violation of
Yeah.
whatever act or whatnot. But just hey, guys, bring it down a little bit because I don't want people that's in that little subdivision right behind the campgrounds calling again this year.
Right. I
Now,
noticed that last year
they
they had
they
some.
really didn't call that much on the campgrounds. A lot of it had to do with some language that was coming from a couple of the bands that you could hear all the way downtown Wilmington.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so that had a lot to do with it. But what added into it? Well, they was noisy in the campground too. So it's just when somebody calls in with a complaint, there's always other things they're going to throw in, and they had heard people that was loud in the campground, so that got thrown in there too. That's just some bad juju that we don't want. So whatever we can do to avoid that, we definitely want to do. So
Something tells me those Karens are going to complain every festival. So
yeah, probably. There's always going to be some. But if it's one or two, I think they'll know. If it's, the entire neighborhood, then that's a whole different story.
right.
So you're always going to have one or two that we complain every year. And, where I live at, there is no noise ordinance, but I can guarantee you at 10 o'clock, as soon as it gets dark, if I have something at my house and I'm playing music outside at 10:01, she's going to call the sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department is going to say, hey, the old lady over there across the way, she says you're playing music loud and whatever. And we just have to call you and let you know. And then they don't do nothing about it and I'll say, look, I'll calm it down. No problem whatsoever. But we don't have a noise ordinance and there's nothing for them to enforce, but people still call on it anyway. And they've even told them that. It's like we don't have a noise ordinance. They could have a band out there playing at 3 o'clock in the morning if they want, and there really ain't shit you can do about it. But, we don't do that. I try and be respectful of people. But, also my bedtime ain't 9 o'clock, and I'm not going to shut down a party at 9 o'clock. That's usually actually when I
Right.
start one. So
Right.
if I'm
Yeah.
having an outdoor band or something. So,
Yeah, I think Rusty. I think a lot of times when people talk about vapes, they talk about all dab, all types of, you know, concentrates, being consumed in something that looks similar to a vape pen. But yeah, the concentrates, the dab shatter, and all that, and the rosin pens and all that definitely stink it up considerably. But last year it was pretty cool. That
yeah,
we sat around campfires and passed doobies around, and it wasn't, of course, look around. If you see a couple of cops walking, you hold it down until they're past. Don't just put it in their face, and like, it's legal here. I know it. I'm going to put this in your face and force something on them, just be
right.
respectful, and pretty cool. And yeah,
You
it
know,
was
we,
it really
we're
laid
kind of
back.
blessed with a place that just isn't like really, really retentive about a lot of stuff, and we really like to keep it that way. And that just with people just making good decisions and using common sense and not doing stupid stuff, we'll continue to have that relationship, which is what I want.
And
So,
it's a great festival. It's amazing that we can put that many rednecks in a park and
absolutely.
drinking moonshine and liquor all day and listen to the rock bands and all that, but still everybody was chill. I don't remember any fights or any major disturbances
Yeah,
or anything like that. There's always going to be a little hiccup, and
right.
but I can't remember anything major. Maybe there was that I missed it. I don't know, possible, but everything
Well, I'll
seemed
tell you
pretty
what,
chill.
the best case scenario you could ever have for a first year festival was what I had the first year for Farm to Bottle Festival. Because most of the people thought it was going to be a bunch of drunk hillbillies out there fighting, yelling, and screaming until 3 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning,
yeah.
whatever else. On Sunday morning, cop shows up. He's like, "What's going on here?" I'm like, "Oh shit, what I do?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "We had like a moonshine festival and whatever." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I never even heard nothing about it." I
That's
was
a good
like,
thing.
"Well, hell yeah." That's what you want to hear right there. He hadn't heard nothing about it.
Absolutely.
He said he didn't hear anybody complain about it. So he said it must have been a pretty good festival.
So we got a pretty
So,
good. We got a good community, man. That
yep.
everybody's pretty chill and
Well, and I'll tell you
enjoys the
what,
brotherhood and getting together.
one other thing, I've done a lot of events, biker events over the year and whatever, and they're always really good about cleaning up their own stuff at the end and
Right,
making
right.
sure everything's in order and they don't leave shit laying everywhere. Well, I'll tell you what, the last 2 years, that's how it's been with the moonshine community too.
Yep.
Everybody polices that stuff. They gather up their trash, put it in one spot. It only took me an hour to go clean up that entire fairgrounds and throw all the stuff on a trailer and take it across the street to the city dump.
Good little
So,
Jib. Yeah, me and Big Easy did quite a bit, and cleaning up 3 or 4 campsites and others walking around. And yeah, I mean, what we don't make mess of our own, we'll clean up somebody else's, our neighbors, if they left a little bit of a mess. But yeah, it's just respect, man.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I got to head over to town.
All right,
So,
brother.
it's been
Well,
great talking to you. And like I
yeah,
said,
thanks
we'll
for
get on
joining
here
us.
and do some more
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the
if we
near
add
future.
some bands or something like that, or or just jump in
Right.
here and help me out with Q&A sometime. I know that you've kind of gotten into a little bit of dabbling on and making it your own. I guess
Oh, yeah. A lot.
very quick learner, I might add, and of course, anytime you got questions, I'm just a message away, brother.
I've probably made 20, 30 batches of stuff so far, and I've had one that tasted like shit. And it's holding this phone up right now. And this is right here. And it looks really good, but it smells like sewer water and tastes like sewer water.
So
And
it's
I don't know what
paperweight.
I don't know what happened to it, but I've got it marked for death. I put an X on top of it, and I'm gonna pour it out at some point when I remember to take it outside and do so.
You
So,
do any charcoal lighting or fire starting or weed
right.
killing? There's always good use for it. You do any?
It's one of the clearest jars I got, and
Yeah,
I
the
opened
thing
it
looks
up.
good and clear.
I opened it up the other day, and it stunk like sulfur, is what it smelled like. But I don't know what
Uh,
that would even come from. But
well, it's sulfates and stuff. You need more copper in that vapor path. If you'd had some mesh, it'd help eliminate some of that. But you can rerun it if you have some tales and stuff that you want to rerun and all that. You get you
I
some of that copper
might
mesh
try that. Yep.
and add it to it, and it'll help take some of that out.
Well, good deal.
All
All
right,
right.
brother. Well, thanks for coming on, and for all y'all, if you can make time to be there, September 12th, 13th, Clinton County Fairgrounds, Wilmington, Ohio. It's kind of close to Kings Island for those that are geographically challenged. Just not far from Kings Island. So if you want to make some plans to take the kids to Kings Island, and then go on over to the festival on a Saturday or something like that, it'd be a great time for all. Yeah.
And you'll get Distilling 101 live.
Yeah, we'll be there live.
Yep, it'll be a live version of Distilling 101. Come ask your questions.
And
We'll even
hopefully I'm
pass
gonna
around
talk with JJ. Me and JJ get out there. I like chatting with JJ. We had a good talk.
Chat with him and see what he's gonna do. I haven't talked to him here in about a month or so, so see what he's up to.
Time we can all meet together and chat about that.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, good. All right, brother. Good to have you on here. Take care, and we'll see you around.
All right, we'll see you.
Later, bye, brother. All right, y'all. Heard it first. Be a great time. So now getting back to Richard and Charlene. Yes, I did get your mail call today. And I was just opening up the box as I was talking to Dan. So let's see what we got here. Awesome, man. This is nice. Now I'm gonna Tumblebee Crafts. How cute. Awesome. Check that out. Little mason jar shot glass, wood grain. Is that beautiful or what? That's awesome. And this is dipped on the outside, right? Not on the inside, so you don't have to worry about anything coming off. But Charlene does this as her craft, and they're beautiful. She's going to do some stuff for the militia that you'll be able to buy from her. She's going to be putting our logo on some of this, and she's been permitted to do that. So we're going to be selling it through our merch page, and I guess at some of the festivals and stuff, we're going to carry it, and she's going to be taking it around where she goes as well. Beautiful. Thank you, Charlene. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Put that right up here next to my working page. Yeah, that's beautiful. Nice. I like the wood grain. That's awesome. I don't know how they do that, but it's very nice. It's like a little barrel aged in, huh? All right, Scott is mashing in some blue corn, trucker's white, rye, and barley. Steeping as we speak. Awesome, brother. So keep that temp up. So I guess it's gelatinizing right now. I try to do that during the about 11 o'clock. That way I get that whole afternoon of heat. But as long as you can maintain that temp, and if you got it in something that's kind of like a cooler or something that's insulated, or like I try to do is just add some water, maybe 3/4 the amount that I know I'm going to use. So if I'm going to do like a 50-pound bag of corn and 20 gallons of water, 2.5 pounds per gallon, pretty standard across the board. I'll add like 15 gallons and I'll reserve 5 to just keep adding to keep that steeping temp up until I get there. So that's, that works. But yeah, hopefully we get to see a lot of you guys and gals at the Farm to Bottle. That's all. It's my favorite festival, and it's not. It has a little bit to do with what all's there in the festival but just the location, being able for everybody just to camp together, and just take your keys and throw them and forget about it. Nobody has to drive anywhere. Your food's there. Of course, if you got a motorhome, you can bring in, or if you camp, you bring your coolers and grills and cook. They allow that. I think last year it was real dry, so there might have been a fire thing that they put some restrictions on certain type grills. Um, but there's plenty of food vendors there, reasonable, you know. Yeah, that's what you got to do, brother. Hell yeah. Get that corn gelatinized, but it was a really good time. It's my favorite. You know, we can sit there and camp, and you know, for me, I sat around the campfire, you know, campsite most of the day and night. You know, I didn't get around a lot. There was a few times that I really couldn't walk. I had a little bit too much to drink, and so I just kind of sat there and drank more. You know, just stayed there in my seat. But it was a good time. It was a great time. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Rusty. Take that cell phone, put it away, forget about it. I don't think I ever brought mine out. Throw the keys away, and get with a bunch of your buddies, and you know we're going to be there. So you know, everybody's welcome. Look forward to meeting a lot of you that we haven't met, and seeing a lot of the guys that we met again, and gals. When I say guys, I mean everybody. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I wish Lisa could be there, but it's a bit far for her and some of the other people. I understand. So, but it's really a good time. So maybe sometime plan a vacation. You know, if you got kids, you can take them to Kings Island and do the Kings Island thing for a day, and then come over there and camp that night and hang out. You know, $50 to camp is so much more reasonable. You know, and that's another thing I like about it. You know, for some families, you know, it's really difficult to go to Maggie Valley and get a hotel and spend $200 a night. You know, I that's not really affordable. You know, to stay 2 or 3 nights. You know, $400-600 plus. You know, yeah, I'm going to Maggie. I may sleep in a tent because I'm damn sure not going to pay $250 a night. You know, now if we can get several together and get a cabin or something like that, I'm all for it. And it's not that I can't afford it. It's just that, you know, if the hotels were worth it, I would like it. But you know, if it was like a 4-star hotel and had all the accommodations, really nice, you know, continental breakfast and a masseuse there, you know, sure. But you know, this motel hell, man. It's yeah, it's just not the cards for me to spend that kind of money for that kind of place. I mean, I enjoy the people, you know, and the people that put it together. All of them are great people. You know, everybody there is good people, but it's just, man, you've got to find something to do to get rid of rain there. Oh, Richard and Charlene, you still on here? You got to tell me there's a little extra something. I thought that was awful damn heavy. I was like, man, that was. They snuck me something in there I didn't know about. Oh, and that kills me that they're not on here now. So I'm gonna have to message. Damn it! I just wanted to get through all the stuff. I don't want to interrupt Dan. I know he had a limited amount of time to get done what he needed to do and talk about what he needed to talk about. So I didn't want to interrupt him while he's on his roll because he's a lot like me. Um, if I get interrupted right in the middle when I'm talking to somebody about something, I'll forget. And as soon as I forget, it's like, man, what was it? You know, I always do that. So, and if I interrupt people or while I'm talking, somebody talks, and I'll sometimes talk above them because I have to get that out, and that thought, that message, that information out before I forget it. So I'm trying not to be rude, but that's what's going on. That's why I do it. See what's going on with my messenger thing on Facebook acting up. I wasn't able to. It was hard for me to send Dan the link, and now it's doing the same daggone thing, trying to message Richard. and Charlene. Let me see if I can. Now look at this. Oh, when I click it again, it opens that too. It's crazy. I can sit around it on this page, but I can't open up Messenger. God, Facebook, killing me. Here we go. I don't know if they'll get this message. People haven't been getting my messages. I've been sending messages, and I thought it was just my phone because I was sending messages on Messenger, and it shows on my phone is going through, and it shows all the past conversation. It shows, my little blue square where I've talked and they talked, and then I'll come open it up on my PC and then look at Messenger, and it's not there. And it's like, no, they're like, no, I didn't get it. And I was like, well, they said it was sent, and now it's messing up on the freaking PC. So I don't know. But I'm sorry, Richard. Charlene, I'll do the sippy sip some other time when I know they're for sure on here and give my critique on the sippy sip and the shot glass. It's really nice. All right. Yeah, I know you know them. You better. Yeah, I look forward to meeting all Buckeyes. I love it up there, man. There's a lot of good people up there. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's that comes out of Ohio. So I've got some friends that order that stuff, and you can get it through Philbilly, and I think they went up and got it. I think they ordered it through somebody, but yeah, yes, I'm going to Maggie. I'm just not going to be paying 200 a night. I'll camp, I'll sleep in the fucking car before I'm going to pay 200 a night again. It was 700 last time we went there. It was 700 and some dollars, and it was just for some place for me to pass out and take a shower in the morning. And I can pass out in my car and wash up in the creek if I have to, or go to a campground, take a shower, pay them $10 or whatever, and take a shower. I might just go to a campground and put a tent up or something if I have to, or go to a rest area and sleep in my car. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not poor or anything. I'm not rich, but I refuse to spend $700 some on a weekend. Just for that. No, no. I got too many other things I'd much rather have for that kind of money. That's you know that's a sig. That's a Sig Sauer pistol, or that's a lot of other things that I'd rather have than spend it on that. Plus, my old lady, she likes to camp, and she's game for camping. She enjoys it. So we have a lot of fun camping. That's one thing I love about Farm to Bottle is pitching a tent. Showers there close by. Yeah, it's just a great time. But yeah, I'll be at Maggie's for sure. How much is that molasses, Scott? How much is it? I'm not sure what Philbilly and them charge. I'm trying to think of who it was I was talking to. Hell, it might have been in here Wednesday that we were talking about it. But somebody was talking about using that. Was that? Wasn't you? Was it Jeff? I can't remember who it was. Was it you, Jeff? Oh, it'll be your first time at Maggie. Awesome, man. It's a great time. I'm not knocking it. It's a great festival, and it's a lot of other people's favorites. They do have the music. They've got the vendors, and it's a good time. But it doesn't have that camping there on site that adds such an extra element to it. And everybody, at Maggie meets at the hotel. So I think it's shit. What's the name of that place? Right? What's the name of that hotel that everybody partied at, Maggie? I can't remember either.
Something like a Comfort Inn.
Comfort Inn, yeah, something like Comfort Inn or something like that. Maybe Comfort Inn, but it's there in town, and everybody just kind of hung out in the parking lot and partied. That was my second year there, but I was kind of paranoid. I didn't. I was kind of like, are the cops going to drive along any minute? Just come in here with sirens and guns ablazing and cart us all off. I know it's private property, but when you're doing all this and right there next to the road and being loud, and I just I was always concerned, that they were just going to roll in force. Um, there was some issues with ATF coming and checking on a lot of stills, and they were trying to create some laws that weren't necessarily laws, and make everybody put a hole in their still, make it non-functional. And of course, North Georgia and everybody's bringing their big, huge stills. They're like, that's not happening. So they did a little work and talk, and so finally somebody, I guess, helped and realized that can't really do that. That's not a law here in North Carolina. So, but yeah, it kind of put a little bit of a damper on things a little bit. I know Shua, he sent the alarm out. He's like, man, because I think they hit him first, and then Prohibition rolls in with a big, huge submarine pot in the back of his pickup truck. It's massive, and it opened some eyes up. So, but it was a good festival. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy going. Um, but it just didn't have that element of camping and everybody getting together around the campfires and going from camp to camp and seeing all your buddies and hanging out. It was a lot. I like it. It's if you have to go to one, Maggie or Far in the Bottle definitely should be top of your list. Of course, popcorn's a good time, and had a great time in Arkansas. They have a music and moonshine festival down there. It was excellent. They treated us like kings. Wonderful people, great time, and um, I think maybe they've got some accommodations and stuff that are close by. But again, camping, I'm not. They didn't have it available then, but I'm not sure if they can get that. But it was a great time down there as well, and a lot of the other festivals I go to is good times. Ladyville and all of them, they're all great, and they all have their things that make them special. But yeah, it's I think Maggie and Farm to Bottle are two of the biggies right now. There's always going to be new ones that pop up. Is it Maggie last year? Yeah, it was ridiculous, and it's like, why? You know, why can't you sell grains? There's nothing. It's just weird. They're funny there. And it takes away from it. And you can't really blame the event people because they're just trying to make everybody happy and they're not sure. But they really should consult with their attorneys and find out what's legal, what isn't. And there should be absolutely no reason that I do know that they wanted it to be a music festival from the very beginning. I know Becky wanted it to be just kind of a music thing, and a lot of moonshine people kind of invited themselves in and made it about that, and that may have not have been their original intent and wishes. But it ended up being, pretty much what it is, and at this point it's hard to say, well, we don't want it to be about moonshine or anything about that. This is just a music festival, and they don't want to shun the shining, community because there wouldn't be very many people come. It'd just be pretty much some locals. A few rusty. I do know that Mark and Alfredo are going to try to put together something going on in Florida. They tried to this year, or are still trying to. I'm not sure how that's working out. There's sometimes it's hard to get organizers and everybody together. Oh, you didn't miss it, Richard. I'm sorry, brother. I did talk about the awesome shot glass and the wood grain. I did the opening. I'm sorry. I wanted Dan to finish, his kind of thing before I got into it, because I didn't want to just kind of smooth over it real quick. Hey, Luke, thanks, bye. So I wanted Dan to do his thing. I knew he had a limited amount of time to get what he needs to say out, and he's got a lot of other things going on. And it's it's the weekend. So, but love the shot glass, beautiful. I didn't know that was the name. Cute little bee, and it says Tumblebee Crafts. That's cute. Charlene's awesome. But yeah, beautiful mug. And I didn't notice. What I didn't notice was when I was about to put the box down, I was like, man, that packing material has some weight to it. And I started feeling around, and looky. Now this I haven't shown, but we're gonna give it a sampy samp right now. That was a surprise. You didn't tell me about that, so that caught me by surprise. And that's awesome, putting it in a Ziploc bag like that, sealable bag. That, for those that don't know and that send samples around, vacuum bagging it like that is an awesome idea. Very smart people. 4C. Now tell me what I got in my hand. 4C. Break that seal. Oh, it's taped. Damn, I was wondering, man, this thing's stubborn. All right. I was wondering why that didn't open. I should have seen that. Break the seal on it. Oh, you're good, brother. Now, what's the 4C? Absolutely. I like these because you can just kind of puff them like that and get a good nose. That's kind of beats rubbing it on the old fingers and smelling it. Yeah, it smells good. Well, I guess I better make you some shot glass in that, huh? Look. Oh, that's a big shot. So what am I drinking? Smells good. Actually, it smells better when you do this. Four corns, some malted wheat. Awesome. Love me some wheat. Awesome. Smells good. It does smell different than coming out of that, I will say. So maybe it's not the best little thing puffing, because I get more notes. I guess that's why they have brandy sniffers, instead of just smelling it out of the bottle. Smells good. Tastes great. Proof wise, what we at? About 190? Uh-oh. Did you try to snort it? I didn't inhale that shit, huh? Yeah, it is good. Yummy. I'm guessing around 115. Wow, I would have never guessed that. I've been drinking that 135, so I don't know. Everything tastes weaker. But I would not have guessed 115. It's smooth. Definitely smoother than 115. I was guessing around 95-ish, 100 maybe. That's awesome, brother. Did good. Really good. Yeah, I love the glass. Love the wood grain. Definitely love that. Thank you all very much. And like I was telling everybody, they're going to be doing these for the militia, and so they're going to be. We'll have some, and they'll have some at the festivals and stuff. So definitely look them up, hit them up, and get you one of these or two or six. Mail a six pack of them. But yeah, that's beautiful wood grain for those. I mean, that looks just like a freaking wood, man. I mean, that's beautiful. Looks like a freaking mahogany or something. Love it. Posse wasabi or what? Jimmy Red, blue and white. Red, white, and blue and wasabi. That's awesome, brother. Your buddy's running some tomorrow that you helped him with. Sour mash from corn and wheat and sugar. Added some malted barley that was frozen to bust the kernel and help with the enzymes. Well, that's you know, with fruit, I know that I've not heard people doing that with the malt. A lot of times, that malt will open things up, and get a lot of the inside out, and get to the germ and the actual endosperm. I know it sounds gross, but the actual starches and stuff are basically an endosperm, and it helps feed the process before it can get the photosynthesis. Interesting though, to freeze it is a good thing. Um, interesting. So it's not going to hurt it to freeze it. It's definitely going to keep it fresh. I'm just not sure, like in fruits, let's say like a peach. Peaches are just so fleshy and there's so much that it's hard to get to. Whereas freezing it, every little cell in it has like water in it with the fruit juices, and it busts all these little these little cells up. But so stuff like a blackberry, where each cell is pretty much identified as a little round, part on the berry. Maybe and you muddle them good. Maybe a little less important to freeze those to bust them up, but pectic enzymes. I stress the use of those. Don't use too much. I always try to underdo it a little with my nutrients and with my enzymes, because excess, can cause issues with flavor. Um, but yeah, man, that's good shit. But yeah, that's awesome with the sour mash, corn, wheat, and sugar. Added some malted barley, gonna get you that good flavor. Absolutely. Sounds interesting, man. Let us know how it comes out. What's going on, Dale? Been doing good, brother. How about yourself? She used walnut and cherry wood alcohol ink brushed on. How fucking interesting is that? Well, that explains the color. Man, I would have never guessed that. Wow, that's amazing. So that's hand brushed. Wow. So it's not like I was thinking like some kind of dip or something like Randy does, but wow, these are hand painted. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, look at that, y'all. Amazing. Beautiful stuff. Thank y'all again. Thanks very much. Love it. I think all pectic enzymes, probably different. I look on the jar on the bottle, and they generally tell you, how much per gallon of and I always cut maybe 10% less than what they say. I do the same thing with my newts. It'll say so much per gallon. with my wines and stuff. So I just but each have different concentrations. So I'd hate to say, a teaspoon when theirs is concentrated. A teaspoon is like like a tablespoon of something else. So. But usually it'll be labeled, on the little bottle, and just underdo it. I always do a little bit less. Um, but I add it in a lot of things people don't, like bananas and stuff. I'll add pectic enzymes to that to help break those up, and I'll also add amylase. A lot of people, a good thing to do when you're doing brandies, like with bananas and some other fruits, and sometimes there's starches in there that never get converted. You might get the flavor of the banana, but there's unconverted sugars that just go wasted. So, when you do bananas and certain other fruits and things, check it out, and just a quick Google search of starch content in a plantain, or a banana, or a peach or whatever, and it'll tell you. But when you do use the pectic enzymes, you will get a little bit more heads and foreshots. Um, just a little bit. You're adding maybe 5 or 10%, but it's definitely worth it to get the extra juices and flavors that you get out. Because and it helps things clear out too. Helps everything settle a lot quicker. So it's kind of a thinning agent at the same time. So a clearing agent that helps things get clear. But it's for anybody that has doubts about how effective a pectic enzyme is, just do a peach and mix all your peaches up, get them all blended, mashed, whatever, frozen. And that's a good thing to do, to freeze them and use the pectic enzyme to make sure that you get all those cells open and all that good juice out. But do one with and without. Just mix them both up, have them homogeneous, and just scoop one bucket out, and then have two equal buckets, identical size. And it's great to experiment, but it will sell you on it. Like any mash, like the watermelon, a lot of people's doing right now. It helps with a lot. Any of these mushy, messy mashes that you have, bananas, peaches, a lot of them with a lot of heat, in the fruit itself. It helps a lot. Apples especially, and peaches especially. Um, but do a bucket with and without, and just before you don't pitch your yeast or nothing, don't hurry. Let your pectic enzymes have a day or two to work. That's one of the worst things you can do in home distilling and wine making and brandy making, beer making, anything like that. The worst thing you can do is rush things and try to push things, and take shortcuts and do things to speed up the process, because it just usually never works real well. But do them in two separate buckets like that, and and it is amazing. Oh yeah, it is. It is. It's a must. But must, pun intended. I like that. Um, but yeah, with the peaches and stuff, I did it one and the other, a while ago, just to experiment and see how effective they were actually. 'Cause it's amazing. It's like one's still a slimy mess with all kinds of fruit and skin and pulp, and the other one's thin, and man, it's unbelievable. Yeah, you don't want to freeze the enzyme or the fruit. Yeah, you don't want to freeze the enzyme. But you mean the fruits? It says don't freeze the fruits. Maybe don't use it on a frozen fruit. I've never seen that, Jeff. Interesting. Something to research. But I've always, with a lot of fruits and stuff, with on sale, you get some and build it up. A lot of times if you go out and pick, we go to a farm and pick stuff, and we'll bring it home, and we have to wait for their vines to get full again, wait for more blackberries to come out. And so we'll do several trips a year and build up a gallon or two of Ziploc baggies, and then we'll freeze those. And No, this ain't the shit show, brother. We get all that out of our system on Friday and then back to work on Saturday, bro. But yeah, we do that and get them all frozen up, and then when I get ready to do my run, of course I'll thaw it out real good and then mash them up, blend them, immersion blender, whatever I can use, and then add the pectic enzymes to that to help break everything down. I mean, it seems to still work the same way and is effective, but it'd be an interesting read to find out, what they feel, and what maybe it's for like jelly making, or something like that, or a specific type of, you know, final product that may be less conductive. I'd say maybe in some jams and jellies, if you're going to do that, might not be as good, flavor wise or something like that. But be interesting to see, what their reasoning is behind that. I would like to read that and learn about it. I always want to learn, brother. No, not the shit show, brother. We have a good time on there, though. It's a lot of fun. It's a little crazy. Yeah, I got a little hammered last night. I have to say, I drinking that 135 proof, man. It'll get you there. Maybe I'll slow down, drink some of this 115 instead. What's going on, James? Good to see you. Are you all? Did you all go this weekend? Are you at Popcorn? It's been a while, brother. Good to see you, man. I talked to Courtney not long ago, and I think I'm trying to pull up the messenger. I think she said you guys were going to go. Did y'all end up going? Oh, you moved. Awesome. I didn't know you were moving, brother. That's what you've been up to, keeping you so damn busy. Last I heard, I guess, was when that storm blew over your barn and did some damage there. And I might have talked to you a time or two since then, but it's been a while, brother. So you moved up to Cosby. Awesome. Yeah, I'd say. So I'm trying to. So Cosby, actually, that's pretty close. You're close to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, and real close to Summer Jam and all that. So yeah, you're right in the thick of things there, man. Now, did you know people in Cosby or work related transfer or? That's great, brother. So you gonna go to work at Adventure? Cool, cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's nice country, man. That's a beautiful area. Fuck yeah. Quite a bit different from where you moved from. Coming down in October. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, well, maybe next year you'll be able to make it to it. Yeah, that's right. And really close by. And so's Maggie. So That's awesome, man. You'll be able to just go back and forth. Of course, you probably won't want to on Maggie weekend unless you got a designated driver or something. Yeah, it's going to be great, man. I look forward to seeing y'all. Yeah, we've been keeping things going, man. Just chilling and taking it easy. Yeah, it's a lot different up here in the mountains, man. Different way of life, different people are different. So where are you going in October, Hillbilly? I'm trying to think of what kind of festivals are in October. I know Dan might have something going around that time up in Ohio, and I'll have to look on the militia here real quick and see on their calendar. We've got a calendar for those that don't know. Damon doesn't keep it refreshed like he's supposed to. If you're watching, hope your ears are burning. But let's see, Shine On Festival, OBX. That'll be a good one. That's the 24th, 25th, and 26th, and that'll be a pretty good time. Outer Banks, yeah, that'll be a pretty good time. So if you're here for that, there's a lot of people that go to that Outer Banks. I know Jay and Amanda try to make it out there every year. There's quite a few people that like that festival. It's cool. Yeah, this is Outer Banks, Carolina, so it's a little drive, but hell yeah, man. Maybe next year y'all can plan it, by one of the festivals like Maggie, and come down and camp or something. I don't recommend getting the damn hotel rooms. I'm gonna rag on them all I can because I mean it's not like you're getting 5-star accommodations for that 200 a night, man. It's motel hell. I mean, they don't have bed bugs, where I stayed. That was one of my big concerns, but it wasn't bad, but it was expensive for the room I had. Let's just put it that way. It's an old motel, and the people are wonderful. So I'm not going to knock it, too much. They don't have a lot to do with it. They can't control a lot of the things I complain about, but and I understand how. That's why this area really it needs to get more things going on. That way, the more things they have happening, the less gouging that they have to do and try to make, because that's one of the biggest things that goes on in that area all year round. So that's a big draw. And I mean, they have a few things going on there, but just don't have that big tourist draw, and they try to make as much money as they can. And I understand it's all business and stuff, but it's not. I wouldn't put it in the affordable category. And I'm just a tight ass too. I hate spending a lot of money, but damn, 200 on a regular, roadside motel. That's a bit much. No continental breakfast, no masseuse, and no hot steamy towel. Nobody there handing you, Grey Poupon or whatever. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I guess getting four-wheelers and learning some of the trails and getting to know some of the people there, man, it's just beautiful country. Those mountains, man. Once you get them in your system, it's hard to get away. It's they provide some shelter, some comfort, and once you get out in the open land, it's like, man, it's different. So once you get used to those mountains, man, it's hard to get it out of you. Shine On is the halfway point from the dead. Yeah. Let's see. The Shine On is I don't know that much about that festival, to be honest with you. Let me open up the calendar here. Let's see. Shine On Festival. Yeah, that's down in Arkansas. And it's not the one I went to. The one I went to, they're having theirs 1st of November. Um, and that's not on our calendar like it should be. Dang. But yeah, that's a different one. So I guess the beginning of October, Shine On in Barling, Arkansas. And then on November 1st in Clinton, Arkansas, with and they have a big thing on Friday. There's a they have a big Halloween festival there. So they have like a parade and stuff where they, and a big, they have a big shindig, big thing every year for that. So this year, the, Halloween came on 31st. So instead of having a 2-day festival like they normally do, they're going to split it up and do, half of it's going to be the Halloween fest. They do the 31st, which is Friday, and then November 1st, they're going to have their festival down there. They're great people. I met a lot of really good people down there, and Dale and them met them down here. So it's yeah, it's great down there. What's up, Dave? Good to see everybody out tonight. So what's everybody drinking tonight? What's everybody got going on? I guess it'll be a little while before you be able to get mashed in, James. You got to get so did y'all end up buying a place, or I know she mentioned renting, or you gonna rent to own, or you just kind of moving around and getting a feel of things before you kind of dive into anything? Or what's up, Mama B? Mama B, y'all coming to Farm to Bottle this year? Better. Yeah, I had Dan on earlier. We were talking about it. Oh, he's getting off work. I see, brother. Damn, having to work on a Saturday. That's tough, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta come to the Farm to Bottle. That's a lot of fun. Everybody. I was in Eastern Tennessee before the bikes. I was going to do Tail of the Dragon. Yeah, it's nice ride for bikes down through there. It's very curvy. On I think it's Interstate that 41 maybe. Um, I don't frequent that area, but yeah, it's very interesting driving. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go through there with something that's real top heavy. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, they drive on that road crazy, man. They do. And I grew up in East Kentucky driving on curvy ass roads, dodging coal trucks for your life. So yeah, it gets crazy. But yeah, I've seen a lot of, I have a little sporty car that's kind of low to the ground, man, and I'm like slowing down for curves, and I'm seeing freaking locals, man, just blowing by me, and I'm like, damn, fuck. They tuned those suspensions up to live there, man. I don't know what they're doing. Yep, yep. Better. It's a good time, and it's economical. It's camping. $50, and it's a lot of fun. If you don't like to camp, they bring your little motor home, or there's Airbnbs, and the hotels around there are reasonable. Like 70, $90 a night. Like normal hotels and motels do. So yeah. GPS, unless it's satellite or something, yeah, it's they don't work well, especially on the top of the mountain. Yeah, we got some property in Eastern Kentucky, and my dad and I were going to take out the GPS, and this was years and years ago when they weren't quite as advanced as they are now, but we were going to GPS and mark off, the boundaries and everything a little better. And shit, couldn't get anything in them mountains. Yeah, it is very dangerous, but it is a nice bike ride. I like those curvy roads, country roads. So, how's things at Popcorn? Y'all rocking tonight, Mama B? Y'all partying down? I know y'all there. Was it pretty good day today? Pretty good turnout. I didn't get to catch a lot of the lives earlier. I was up late last night. I got drunk and on the shit show. I got pretty hammered, and then we did the backstage. Hell, we was in there for a long time talking shit and getting crazy, and then I got on and gamed till I fell asleep. I fell asleep playing Call of Duty last night at the PC. Woke up this morning about 8, crawled in bed, and that's where I stayed till this afternoon. I had a little bit of a hangover, not too bad. So what's up, Mom V? Y'all having a good time tonight up there? I guess so. You probably not even tuned in anymore. Probably going back to partying. I know last night they were all having a good time. Looked like a pretty good crowd showed up. I'd like to be able to make a lot of these festivals. Maybe one of these days, the Ender Tires would get us a little motor home and hit them all. Just drive across the country and go to all of them. That'd be a lot of fun. What's going on, Michael? What's up, bro? So what's everybody got going on this weekend? What you got mashed in? What are we drinking? I'm drinking 4C, Wasabi, Ohio Blue. I think it's Ohio Blue. Let me remind here. Wasabi Jimmy Red. He didn't say which blue, whether it's Ohio Blue or Hopi. I'm guessing Ohio and white. I'm not sure which white, but good stuff. And 115 proof. I thought it was like 95 to 100. So pretty smooth. Dandridge. Cool. Most of the flux that are used these days are water soluble. So if you can get to it with a brush or a rag, a lot of water and or heads, yeah, you can get rid of them that way. Most of the, now if you're using, I'm not sure about the ruby. If you're soldering stainless and copper, I'm not sure about the ruby. But most of the fluxes are pretty water soluble, so a good scrubbing and water should get rid of a lot of that. But I always still, if it's something new like that, a good sacrificial run. Here's my thoughts on it. For clearing it with water, I start with the vinegar. So vinegar, acidic. Now, people say vinegar. This doesn't mean like the vinegar you get off the shelf at your grocery store. This is the vinegar that you can get at Home Depot and stuff. So it's a much stronger vinegar, right? So it's much more acidic and strong, and it's better for cleaning. So you can mix that with some water and run that through, and that way Ohio Blue, cool. The trucker's white. Awesome. Wapsi, not wasabi. Okay. Cool. Wapsi. Now, what am I thinking? Wasabi? This may be some kind of. Well, that's like a damn brand name. Now, wasabi's a plant. And it ain't corn, but it doesn't. Oh, that's the hot, spicy stuff. What the hell am I thinking? Okay, I'm an idiot. I've been mispronouncing that, Yeah, wasabi's the spicy shit. Yeah. Where did I get that? Here's wasabi corn on the cob. Maybe that's where I got this. So it's a spicy way to cook corn. Okay, and wasabi's the spicy stuff. Okay, yeah. I've been calling it that. Wow. Yeah, it's the spicy stuff. I don't know where the. I'm just an idiot. Wapsi. Now I need to learn more about Wapsi corn because I thought it's fucking wasabi. Wapsi. What? Yeah, it's an heirloom variety of dent corn. Cool. That's what I thought wasabi was. Yeah, now look at it. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so I've had the wasabi corn with the spicy stuff on the corn, but it's not the actual corn. So yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we clarified that, and I don't look like an idiot when I say that anymore. Wapsi wasabi. Yeah, I'm getting old and dumb, man. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like it's a spicy, but it doesn't have capsaicin, so that's not what makes it hot. But yeah, it's yep. I like it. I like spicy stuff. So think about adding an element to your stew. Yeah, I mean, what you want to make sure that you do, and I got a keg steel, so with it, with the element and not the element, with the ferrule in the side of it, and it's like right in the middle towards the top, and I'm like, that's going to be pretty close to where you're going to be when you run it down. If you run it low, so be sure to put it not at the bottom where you might, you shouldn't be getting sediments anyway, but towards the bottom. That way you never have to worry about, running it down to the point, and you can run it half full and still not have to worry about running it down and exposing your element, burning it out. So yeah, be sure to put that ferrule pretty low in the steel, and you should be pretty good. So Kate Woods just sent me a friend request. Wow. Y'all get all these women sending you friend requests. And I don't even think the picture's actually them, because it's always they're very voluptuous and like, I'm very happy. But I get a lot of those randoms every day. It's just my charm and good looks. I know that's what it is, right? They're sending them to everybody. They think, oh, he looks like an old softy, or what they call them, simps. Ain't no simp here, baby. This old man's happy with who he has. Ain't looking. I don't care if it's, I was gonna say Nallywood, but she died a long time ago. But, sorry. Yeah. Went to put a false bottom in and run my mash in a bag. Do you think that it can be? You know, you can also hang your bag without having the false bottom, but you do have to worry about it, you know, drooping and getting in. What kind of setup you got, Michael? I do know that, like in my favorite football studio, I'm gonna have to turn this thing on every time I can start a little bit. Can y'all hear that fan? Is that distracting? I was chatting with somebody in game last night, and they're like, "What is that, man? What is that in the background?" Yeah, I guess they're going to hear the footsteps. So that fan was real loud to them. Can y'all hear it? Because they made me turn it off. It was too loud. You can't hear it. Yeah, they just want to hear them footsteps. I guess everybody cranks their speakers up so you can hear everything. So maybe that's what it was. But yeah, back to I've got a Weber football steel, and it comes with a false bottom like that. And anytime you do, yeah, put your element below that false bottom, for sure. But you can also hang it, you know, and if the shorter, fatter steels seem to be more of a problem because you don't have a lot of height space. Whereas like the rocket style that are very small around and tall, you've got quite a bit more space to hang. They're quite a bit less efficient, but when it comes to hanging bags and doing things like that, it helps a lot. So kind of having a in the middle, you know, if you can, is the best. But if you can put a false bottom in and take it in and out, and you've got like a bever, you know, yeah, put that element below where that is for sure. Um, really shouldn't have to worry about too much about sediments and things. When you do distill on the grain, make sure that you sparge a lot of that yeast bed out of your grains and get a lot of that rinsed out. Just what you do is, if you've never sparged, you're basically just recirculating a lot of the fluids from the beer, basically, and rinsing all that stuff out back into. So you're not, you know, using water and you know, weakening everything. You're kind of taking the clears and just rinsing and sparging everything back into it, and then you separate the brew bag, and you know all that's sparged, a lot of the yeast bed sparged out of that, so it won't bring a lot of sediments into your mash when you introduce it. And then you let your mash settle and clear as normal. You know, a lot of people, when I say clear, have been taking that to extremes and doing it like a wine and letting it clear entirely. And you don't really need to go to that point. It can be kind of milky. Um, right, another great idea. Yeah, put your jar or something underneath there to support it. With mine, it's got like a ridge built into it. So when I set it down in there, there's a ridge built into the steel itself that holds it in place. But yeah, I mean, if it's not there and you're creating a false bottom, absolutely, you know, jars or something like that, or if you're using some kind of induction, maybe some kind of metal down there that heat up and you know hold up the false bottom would help too. But yeah, put your element below that, and you won't have any issues. And yeah, I'm going to have actually July. We haven't set the exact date yet, but in July we'll have Alan. And we'll try to pick him into coming on a little more often. Yeah, yeah. It's great for that, but you definitely want to sparge it, especially if you're using an element. But even if you're not, you don't want to get a lot of stuff coming out of your grain bag, and a lot of particulates, that will go through it. I don't know how fine a bag you're using, different micron sizes. But you just don't, if you do use it, keep things stirred up as it heats up, and never put it in there and get busy and do something and then come back and just turn on the heat. Just think about all the amount that's settling out in that 30 minutes you were gone, or an hour that you were gone. And yeah, okay, everything's, like if you do like I do, I tend to siphon a lot of things when I do it. So it takes a while for everything to siphon. So I'll get it siphoning. I'll put the tube right next to the yeast bed and kind of clamp it on with a clothespin or something, and walk away. And then I'll come back and finish it up. But the clears don't have to be perfectly clear like your winemaking. In fact, we were talking about this last night. A little bit of milkiness helps carry some flavor over. So, but there's something to be said for both ways. But you don't have to clear it. But if you do let things sit, make sure that you get everything stirred up, and make sure that it's not anything on the bottom. And if you use those brew bags and distill on the grain, there's always going to be some particulates that come out. So as long as things are moving, it should be fine. I've heard of people using marbles, on the bottom, and to help keep, particulates and stuff off the bottom. And I guess that when it boils, the marbles move a little bit and help keep things stirred up a little bit. So I've not done that, but I've heard a lot of people that have done that and got some success with it. So yeah, we're going to have Alan on. I think we said a date, July, maybe 11th. I don't know. I'm going to put an ad out for it, but definitely Alan's very knowledgeable, and one of the few people I go to for answers a lot of times. So yeah, definitely look forward to having Alan on here. He's a wealth of knowledge, and I know he would love to be able to do what I'm doing right now, but I'm semi-retired, and he's just getting just getting going. So he doesn't have that kind of time. I know he wishes he could, but definitely look forward to getting him on here, and hopefully more often in the future, because very knowledgeable, and he enjoys, like I do, he enjoys sharing knowledge and passing down knowledge and getting people interested and started, and that's what it's all about, kind of giving back and getting people into it. I know we get his buddy Tyler comes in here a lot that works with him. I've not had a chance to meet yet, but look forward to meeting them both. I've not had an opportunity to meet Alan. Drove up to the distillery. I didn't know it was a damn day they were closing, so I didn't get a chance to see him. But yeah, definitely look forward to meeting Alan. That's happening soon. But yeah, definitely distill on that grain. It'll add a lot of flavor. And make sure that you got a brew bag. I know a lot of people use paint bags, and they get bags from Amazon and they're not sure, and it just advertises brew bag. So make sure that it's something that can handle the heat, because I know a lot of people sell paint bags as brew bags, and they're not. So you don't want to make that mistake. Which they're great for straining grain in, they're great for separating it, but they just can't handle the heat. So yeah, you get a lot more flavor when you distill on the grain like that, and you have all that grain in there. Definitely adds a lot. Yeah, it adds a lot of flavor. And you do that, and of course, with your jar rigs and like with grain and corn, I like putting cream corn in my infusion with cream corn. That adds so much corn flavor. It's so good. If you like corn liquor, it tastes very, very corny. and it's awesome. So if you haven't tried that, there's a little tip and trick. Green corn in your infuser works real well. So I'm glad James and Courtney moved a little closer to the action. Now they're right in the middle of it all. That'll be awesome. What's going on, Chris? How did you feel this morning, Chris? He got drunk with us last night. Trying to steal my damn thunder. I didn't forget. Keep it a secret, brother. Keep it a secret. What are you looking for in the marketplace, Steve? Oh, well, I'm here every Saturday night, just penciled in. Saturday and Wednesday. That's good. Yeah, we were wild. Yeah, I was getting pretty hammered last night. I got a pretty good buzz. I mean, I wasn't smashed, but yeah, I had a pretty good buzz on. Trying to find a tractor to trade for. So you're just wheeling and dealing, huh? There's another friend request. Hello, Lana Rose. Oh, there's several tonight. Old Santa's popular on Saturday night. Maybe 40 years ago, it'd been a little more welcome. But Yamaha Wave Runner with the rebuilt engine, needing a farming tractor. I hear you there, brother. Well, you might have to sell one to buy the other. I don't know a lot of farmers that are getting rid of their farm all to get them a wave runner. Not getting rid of the old John Deere for the wave runner. Yeah, I hope you. Yeah, it's good horse trading though. Buying and selling, working your way up. I used to do a lot of that when I was younger. That was always fun. Start out with something cheap and work out with deals and get a better deal and get good steals and maybe get something that need a little bit of work done or see something that you knew what it took to fix it and the people that had it didn't, and it's an easy fix and they don't, and just buying, fixing, and trading. Yeah, I still do that back today. Yeah, you got to find the deals now. You can't. It's hard to find them in Facebook, and I guess Facebook and eBay is really like shit for us because everybody can just get on there and market your shit. And they see prices on eBay and they're like, "Damn, it's worth that much," and they don't realize that somebody's asking price. That's not a fucking sales price. So they see that and they're like, "Oh hell, I've got gold," and they want too much for it. And of course, they don't get rid of it and sit on it, and for the next 5 years talking about how great it is and how expensive it is, and nobody interested in buying it. And eventually, they'll either die holding it or take that bite and get rid of it for a normal price. Yeah, I am too, Steve. I fix a lot of stuff, appliances, everything. Yeah, I saw it on Pickers or Antique Roadshow or some shit. Yeah, the Pickers kill you. Yeah. Yeah, that's the fact, man. They set shit on those, and all of a sudden their little common object is now worth gold. But I tell you what, eBay and a lot of that shit did a lot of the opposite too. it took a lot of things that used to be valuable that were kind of hard to find, that might not be available in your market or in your area, but now you have something that exposes that to the whole internet world. So it's not so rare, that baseball card you thought was real rare might not be so rare. Or that bottle or jar that you thought was rare, or old camera or something. Yeah, it's not so fucking rare anymore. It's not worth it. So it did a little bit of both. But still, a lot of people asking price, they don't understand that because somebody lists something for a certain price doesn't mean they sell it at that price or going to get that price. So yeah, it's been a mixed blessing. I used to do a lot on eBay. I like eBay. I bought and sold. I actually bought a gun on eBay when it first started. I bought it off a cop in the Northeast. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. The nice too. This is nice Beretta 92 FS. It was a sidearm, I guess. It had, I think it's New Hampshire. Had New Hampshire State Police on it. Pretty fucking cool. He was a good shooter. I sold it to my uncle. He needed something nice. Well, I traded it to my uncle. Pretty much gave it to him. Craigslist, yeah, man. Yeah, Craigslist like the local eBay. It brought things a little local. I used to do the magazines. We used to have the magazines that came out that were for certain areas, Kentucky, Central, I think Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, Tennessee area or something. Little magazines that they'd sell in all the shops. Would sell a lot of doodads and stuff. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of scams there. So there's marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, a bunch of bullshit. All those Corvettes selling for $7,000. Yeah, right, okay. A lot of scammers on there. Yeah, yeah. It definitely has a benefit being definitely has benefits being in a populated area. But that's also cuts down on your time to get it. You got to be quick. You got that many people, so you can find good deals. But it's one of those things. Well, I've had about 15 people reply. Whoever gets there first gets it. And it's like, you can't hold it for me? No. And it's like 30 minutes away, and you're like, should I risk it and take a chance and or not? So Steve the boat guy. Well, that's good, Steve. I think it was you I was talking to the other day about maybe no, it wasn't you. Somebody I was talking to the other day about somebody restoring. No, it was somebody else that was doing their own restoring. Who was that? Shit, what's that guy's name? Kurt, not Kurt. What's his name? Yeah, I had a buddy that's he's got a center console. He had to redeck and doing a lot of work on it. Put a new hard top center console in it. Did quite a bit of work and had some dude helping him out and doing it for like $2,500 or so. I've got a Wellcraft center console 21 Fisherman that I'm gonna have to do a little bit of. Yeah, you had to put new stringers in it and redeck it. a new. Mine is yeah, it was I can't remember what his was. It was one of the smaller center console. It wasn't the deep B like mine is. It was a little. Yeah, he had to put new stringers. I don't know if he's put new in or just scabbing onto the ones that he's gotten and put new plywood, ring grade plywood down, and it was just soft, you know, and putting in all new wiring and plumbing, and I think he's putting in a new console with a hard top, so he's changing the console out too. So yeah, I thought it was 2,500. So I thought he was getting a pretty good deal, but he was doing a lot of the work with the guy that was doing a lot of work, and he bought a lot of the stuff to put in, so a lot of the parts weren't included in that 25, but still pretty good deal. Yeah, mine's the Wellcraft Fisherman 21. It's actually like 22. They called it a 21, but that was before they started counting the pulpit and the little platform on the back. I think now they count that as 89 bottle, I think, but it's nice. Yeah, I'd rather work on stringers than transom. But my transom's good and solid. It's just soft. Actually, it's kind of soft when I got it, and it's still soft. But I weigh more now than I did when I got it, so it feels like it's giving a little bit more than it used to, and it may. I'm sure it's getting a little bit softer. So I'm not sure how far I'll have to go down. I just have to rip it out and see. You know, yeah, they're rocking, man. They're the bulletproof holes, man. It's a lot of the. I know when I went to Florida, we bought it in Florida. We used to go there every year, and I do scuba diving and stuff. So we'd trailer it down there, and we had some people that had a nice rental property right next to theirs. They had like a duplex and right on the canals, and they had a dock. So we'd just go down there and dock it, not have to trailer it around and launch it and all that every time. So it was nice. Just walk out of the room, right up to the boat, and just go fishing and scuba diving, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Chris Craft or Chris Craft on last one. 500. Yeah, and that 55, that's about what I paid for this boat, and it was in good shape. I bought it. It was a steel, nice center console, well crafted, and 175 Mariner on it. I think the motor's like an 87 and the boat's like an 89. It's not original. Both run, the motor runs great. Got to put new steering in it and all that, but it's pretty nice. Now we're going to talk about boats till somebody got a question. I'll sit and talk about anything till somebody has some shine related questions. If y'all got anything that you got going on you want to answer, hop in there. I'll sit and talk about boats and fishing and hunting, whatever y'all want to talk about. No, it's fine, brother. Yeah, I don't get out as much, but I'd love to be able to have it take up to the Great Lakes and go fishing up there. And maybe I don't know, it might be better just to sell the damn thing and just just rent a boat when you get there, as little as I get a chance to use it. Yeah, I know you meant Chris Craft. Yeah, they're good boats. And Boston Whalers good boats too. And trophies. All three are real good. All great boats. Yeah, those boat motors are not too bad to work on. I've got an old one for sale. I've got a Black Max Mercury 175. and it was the year they came out with it. So it was the first year, and I'm told that the lower unit in it is geared a lot higher than a lot of the subsequent years. They had warranties on them, and it was screamed, man, and it was so geared so high, it was just so fast that they geared it a little differently to help motors last a little longer, in subsequent years. So a lot of people that race, that do like stock racing, really seek out this lower unit for its gearing. I've been told anyway. Yeah, man. But yeah, it's a great motor. I took it off an old Venture bass boat my dad bought back in the day, '78, I think. So I hope everybody's having a good time at the popcorn festival. Old Mama B, I guess they just dropped in to say howdy, and good to see the Sweets are now in the mountains, other than way down south. It's hot and humid, and hurricanes huffing and puffing and blowing their barns down. Yeah, Evinrude's are good ones. The old Black Max Mercury's were good. Starters had a little issue with starters, and I guess the biggest issue with the old Black Maxes was the generators. They didn't put out regenerate a lot of electricity. So, but Mariner, I think, and Mercury were pretty common, and then the Evinrude and Johnson, I think, was common with each other. Yeah. Yeah, they're all pretty good to take care of them. But, changing those impellers out and water pumps, and, a lot of people blow their motors by not changing their impellers out. Those things dry rot pretty easily. If you get in sand, it's easy for them to get chewed up and not really put a lot of water, keep it cool. Yeah, that's what they said on mine when they did some work on mine. They were like, "Wow, this thing looks like a new one." I'm like, "Would you believe I've had it out in salt water? This old Mercury." And they're like, "No way, you've had this in salt water." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And they're like, "Wow, I would have never guessed." But I always ran it on tap water afterwards. I'd come on and flush it out real good every time I had it out in the salt water, and kept it clean. Well, I think I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, yeah, you definitely got to flush it out. But after that, I mean, there's nothing other than keeping the anode. Doing the right type of anode. Yeah, they will. They will. Yeah, the ones that they keep out there in the salt water and don't flush. Yeah, you definitely limited on the time. But yeah, anytime they touch salt water, they get flushed out. But I guess we're going to wrap it up and call it a night. It's been a great night. I enjoyed having Dan on. It's always great. He and I are real good friends. Did a lot of charity work together. I guess we didn't get a chance to talk about a lot of that. From the picture, though, I guess that I was posted, I should have pointed that out on the ad. I guess it was on the advertisement that I had put out. It was me and Dan. We went to Old Fort, North Carolina, that was really ravaged by Hurricane Helen flooding, wiped out the town, and it was just before Christmas, so a lot of those kids weren't going to have much of a Christmas, and their families were living in tents and with heaters and stuff, and it was so sad. see all these kids coming up there. They've been living in tents. You know, they were dirty. Their parents, they're trying to do the best they can. They're living in tents, trying to keep it heated, not getting much help from the government. You know, FEMA pretty much just walked out, didn't do shit. But they're sending plenty of money up to New York to house the illegals. But you know, I don't want to get into all that. But man, it pisses me off. But we did the charity with the Moonshine Militia with the Farm to Bottle and Dan, and he did some promotions and did some benefit concerts and put together a lot of money. For those people that don't know Dan, you'll not meet a better person. You know, awesome dude. You know, but put together quite a bit of money and bought a bunch of toys, took down, and I got to play Santa and hand them out. It was awesome, man. It was heartwarming. But to see a lot of those kids, man, you know, they weren't going to have much of a Christmas that year because they've lost everything. Their families, everything was lost. You know, all the Christmas presents, anything, it was all washed away. You know, they didn't have a lot of time. It was kind of a flash flood thing. They didn't really have a lot of time to gather up everything and get out of the way. It was horrible. But clothes, yeah, we did quite a bit, and yeah, it was pretty touching, you know, seeing a lot of those kids and coming up and hugging old Santa, you know, and having a pretty tough time, you know. It was a good time. Oh, Marcus Chapman, he's a great guy too. He spent a lot of time, you know, and dedicated a lot of time helping people, and you'll not meet a better guy than him either. He volunteered many of his weekends to help people and didn't ask a penny. You know, he spent a lot of his time helping a lot of people and never asked for a thing. So both great people. You'll not meet better people. But with that, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you back here on Wednesday. So have some questions ready for me. And we don't have any guests or anything coming on, so we can maybe I'll pick a topic or something to kind of go over on, and we can all talk about maybe making some wines and brandies and some maybe go over some recipes. You know, that's something I haven't really done a lot of, and I'm going to start sharing some recipes. Maybe not all my own recipes, but ones that I look through and kind of screen to eliminate a lot of bullshit recipes. So that's going to be my chore for early this week, is to go through a lot of those and pick out some that look pretty legit and go over. Right, talking some mead and wine and beer. I'm not so knowledgeable about, um, but I do grains. But I've never really done the hop thing. So I've never been a big beer drinker. I always drank Boilermakers. Um, but yeah, that sounds interesting. But anyway, it's good seeing everybody. Thanks for dropping in, and hopefully a lot of you guys can come to Farm to Bottle and be a part of the festival. It's awesome, great festival. Uh, and hopefully, if not, go to their website and check out a lot of the other festivals they got there in Ohio. Especially if you live up there, like Steve, you know, you can go by and check out some of the, like, Rock the Blocks. Always going to be good. Dan knows a lot of old rockers from back in the day. He knows a lot of the big band people, think, you know, and so yeah, he can get some pretty good groups in, man. A lot of good tribute bands. But with that, I guess we'll say shine on. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll catch you all hump day. Have a great weekend. See y'all then. Shine on. Peace out.